Hi, Brett.
You're live.
All right, let's get started, everybody. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting's been called to order, and now with the roll call. Annie?
Here.
Michelle? Brett?
Here.
Jason?
Here.
Tim?
Here.
On the agenda, I have three things here. We're going to add new business to department reports. And the IJ building, Thomas Loreth, we're going to scratch. And I don't have all the evaluations for tonight, so we either scratch that or wait till it comes. We'll table it to the next meeting.
And Ben.
Where we putting Ben?
New business.
We can put them at the top if you want.
That'd be good.
So the evaluation will be on the 16th.
Yeah.
It would be the 23rd.
23rd.
Shows.
Anybody else have anything you want to add, take off?
I move to adopt the agenda with those additions.
I'll second.
Yeah, motion to approve the agendas, the agenda with the addition of Julie Bisnet, Ben, and moving the evaluation schedule and removing Thomas Randreth. Second by Annie. Motion was made by Jason. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Motion carries.
On the minutes about the trash can at the lake over by the rope swing area, I thought we were gonna do just a regular can, not a metal can, because I thought he said something about, I was on the phone too, so I didn't hear as well, but I thought we said something about they'd set fire to the metal can, so we were just gonna.
No, I said, somebody suggested a 55-gallon barrel, and I said, well, they'll end up using it for a fire pit if they did that,
So
so.
what do we end up deciding on? Was, because this says
There
we
was
were gonna
no
put a metal
decision.
can.
There
I don't
wasn't,
think-
yeah, I don't think there was.
That's why it was, somebody suggested putting it on the agenda for tonight.
Oh, okay. Never mind. We'll just talk about it later then.
It's down under continuing business.
I also wanted to add
To
to
what?
the minutes,
Oh, to the minutes, okay.
on the second page at the very end for property 216, just the concern that was mentioned and talked about prior to the vote. So
Sorry.
So what do you want added, Brett? I'm sorry.
the concern that was talked about prior to the vote
The concern on what?
on safety, and
Was it on the, is it on the video or something?
it is on the video.
Okay.
Well,
On 116.
Yeah.
unless you have the statement, you probably ought to have minutes until everybody reviews them.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay, the approval of minutes will be tabled to the June 23rd meeting. For corrections.
I'll approve appropriation ordinance 1532.
Second, that.
Jason, did you second that?
Okay, motion by Brett to approve the appropriation ordinance 1532, seconded by Jason. Any further discussion, questions, concerns? Those in favor?
No, roll call.
Yeah, just do a roll call instead, okay. Annie,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
and Tim.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, we're gonna open the floor for public concerns. Blake?
Just real quick, I see that you've got, 567 on here, keeping of animals later, so just speaking for myself, you can take my request off the table. It's not worth the aggravation of my time right now. Appreciate it.
Okay, Brett, that was your call. Do you want to take that off the agenda for
Sure.
his request? Pardon me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Clay.
I'm sorry, what was the ordinance 567?
Yeah.
Keeping of animals.
Well, I think you need a motion to remove it again. Because you already approved the ordinance.
No, we didn't
Well,
approve one.
they
We're
didn't,
just
they
discussing
didn't
it.
change it. They
Make
were just
changes.
discussing the possibility of amending it, but no action was ever,
Okay, that's other business, okay.
yeah, they hadn't amended it. They were just discussing the possibility. Okay.
I move that we strike it from the agenda.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Tim to strike under continuing council business ordinance 567, keeping of animals by Tim, seconded by Brett. Those in favor? That motion carries. Okay, continuing on with public concerns. Yes,
I just want to see if we can put on the agenda for the next meeting to discuss about getting my wall sealed and taken care of now that it's in the open and needs to be taken care of right away. And I know you guys have other stuff going on with this, so I wanted to see if we can get that on the agenda to discuss how we're going to get that done.
Why would that be on the
yeah.
agenda?
Oh, well, can we discuss it now?
Discuss what? I
It's
mean,
private property.
Yeah, that would be between you and the two property owners, would it not?
No, you guys have put the project on hold. So we need to figure out how we're going to get that done.
I see, yeah.
What? I mean, wait, no,
I understand,
city's
I understand
put it on
what you're saying. The property has been deemed uninhabitable for humans.
yeah.
But I think that's maybe the inside of the building, not the wall that she's talking about, right?
Well, I'm gonna pass this out if you guys wanna go over it and add it to the agenda. It's documentation needs to happen next. I think you already. Who didn't get one?
Get one more.
Here. Oh, sorry, I thought I had 7 of them.
Your thoughts, Todd?
Well, I'm still not understanding. I mean, you're the owner of the adjoining property, is that right? Well, you're certainly entitled on your property to take whatever measures you deem necessary to make it weatherproof and safe.
It's not on me, it's on Josh, but you guys have stopped his project. So you guys need to get with Josh and decide how he can
Well,
move
how are
forward.
we stopping you from fixing what needs to be fixed?
Nobody can go over there. And the engineer says that it's on Josh, not me. If you read it.
Yeah, I read that. but-
Either way, nobody can go over there.
So you're not gonna be waterproofing his side of that wall, correct?
No, he needs the water.
He needs to do that.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. So that's what
And he
Todd's
said he
saying.
was going to.
And that's what Todd is saying, that you're responsible for your side of the wall, not the other one.
But if that doesn't get taken care of, the inside of my wall is not gonna be good very soon. Those walls weren't built to be in,
Exposed.
that's correct.
So what she's saying is because we've stopped Josh from working, then her exposed wall is not going to get sealed.
From
because no-
Josh's side.
From Josh's side.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay.
All right.
It's good detail.
What's the danger to the, is there a public danger marked up?
He's got it blocked, the public can't get access to it.
Okay, well, if he wants to take the risk, I'd say remove any,
I'm gonna try and interrupt here for a second. I don't think it's that big of a concern at the moment. And the reason I say that is the roof has not been on that building for how many years now? That wall's been exposed for this entire time. Another couple months. That's my standpoint on it. Now, it's not like there was a roof up there, we tore the roof down, and now it's exposed. That would be a different story. But prior to us doing anything, that roof's been on the ground for a number of years.
Excuse me. The whole roof has been on the ground?
No, the whole roof was on the ground.
The whole roof has not been on the ground.
The whole roof from back here, from the concrete pad, that was the only part that was still standing on the top. And this front corner over here that we're having issues with now. That was the only part of the roof that was still standing. Everything else, there was a floor in place, a wood floor that went across, and it was all busted up, but the roof was laying on the floor. I know, I dug it out. I dug it off the floor and hauled it away. Now, on this topic, I'm going to strongly advise that next time somebody has a project come along, you guys get together and tell them what they need. I've asked you guys 3 different times what needed to be done, and all throughout this project, different things are coming up that we have to jump over hurdles for. This all should have been taken care of in the beginning, where we could have did the permits and everything else. I was told that I could have an orange construction fence that would suffice. Now that we've had part of the building fall that we had over here, it's been deemed by the city considered unsafe. How has it been any unsafe now than it has ever in the last 30 years?
Can I answer that?
Sure.
So the rubble that's been in there has been piled up for years and years and years. Josh knew he had a huge undertaking when he took that on. Appreciate the taking it on. He is correct. It should have been talked about, planned, and discussed prior to it getting started. We now have a building that is condemned because the rubble that was on the underneath holding it up, holding Amy and JR's wall was up, was dug out and removed, which allowed gravity and everything fall. There is equipment that you can rent that has 30, 40 foot arms on them. What you do is you don't pull out rubble from the ground first and pull it out. You start from the top, you cut the bolts, and it comes down piece by piece. That's how it needs to be done. Not telling Josh how to do his business, but that's how it needs to be done. I know that Amy and JR spent thousands of dollars fixing up that building to rent it so that we can have businesses in this town. They have a licensed contractor. They paid a lot of money. Their licensed contractor obviously looked at the building next door and said it was safe to do their remodel. So either way, if it was done properly, we wouldn't have this mess now. And they don't even know if they're going to be able to keep the building, and it may have to come down. So this project's going to be a long time if somebody takes the responsibility to do it right, and they're not going to be able to get to it. As a matter of fact, we can't even get to Amy's side and JR's side until we find out what's going on. Josh can't touch a thing. They can't fix their building because the stuff that came down caved their foundation in underneath, which if wood is going to push the dry stack stone in, backfilling it's going to push them in. It's a no-brainer. So we either need to get this on the agenda, you guys need to decide who's gonna be in charge of this project, or if the city's gonna be involved, and they took responsibility for it.
No, they didn't.
They did.
Well, I'm gonna.
When
tell-
they had an ordinance, they took the responsibility.
No, they did
Okay.
not.
Well, before somebody knew there was an ordinance, you weren't here that day. In most little towns, the city requires $1 million liability policy and a waiver, which releases the city. At that time, in a council meeting, you wasn't here. Everybody said there was not an ordinance. A day later, I found the ordinance. The city got involved.
Which ordinance was that?
And I was told that you went over the ordinance and advised on the permits and how much insurance there was, because he didn't even get enough insurance. And I was told that you, the attorney, advised the council on how to handle that.
I don't know how to, I don't know what.
You know,
what
whether they
ordinance we're
did,
talking about.
whether they did or they didn't, they just said that was a lawyer's decision.
Building code.
Yeah, well, I mean, this building code has been in the code since ever. I mean, that's an old code.
Well, when the city allowed Josh to do this, they said there was
So
no code.
I'm gonna settle
Okay.
this by reading the very same code. That's 4, right?
Yeah.
Yep, I'm gonna read you 4.
Yeah, everybody knows about it now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, 4227.
Mhm.
Liability. This article shall not be construed to relieve from any liability or lessen the liability of any person performing any activity connected therewith, nor shall the city be held as assuming any liability by reason of any inspection authorized herein, by reason of any certificate of inspection issued, or by reason of any permit or license granted herein. Period. End of the city's involvement. But
Until
for
you
the
move to
fact,
next paragraph.
but for the fact that if there is an order in place that keeps people from performing the work, I suppose we can address that. But the city is not going to, it's not going to adjudicate between landowners what happened, who's at fault, what the problem is. We are going to approve contractors and building permits like we always have, and that's it. And, every other discussion in here is a waste of time, frankly.
I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying that if that was the case, you guys would have got a waiver, and Josh would have been having to get his own contract, and the city would have been
A
out of
waiver
it,
of what?
saying that the city's not responsible.
Well, the city isn't responsible. I just read the ordinance.
It's fine. Read the next paragraph. But either way, we need to
Severability?
figure out how we're moving on with this.
I mean, severability is the next paragraph. I'm trying to figure out what you're saying about the next paragraph.
Do you have it, Sally, the one that talks about the building permits and the ordinance? The mayor making.
Are you talking, which part of it? I mean, are you talking about any property owner personally performing any improvements? Which one are you talking about, Tressa?
Just the one that requires permits.
What you got, the demolition permit?
Which is through the city.
It's
I
an
mean, which we
administrative
can
permit.
give, we
Yeah.
can't,
It's an administrative permit. It does not guarantee or products or services or how it's going to be done, especially in a demolition, because it isn't a building code matter. I mean, you're not building anything if you're demolishing it. If he was building something, it would have been a different examination.
Okay.
which I
I
told
understand.
you when you started building, we had to have all these permits, right?
And we haven't got there yet. So my
Right.
next question is when are you guys gonna move so Josh can move forward so I can take care of my stuff? That's what I'm here for.
I think that's a requirement of the insurance, right? You guys are
So-
figuring some things out first.
So I need to know I've talked to my insurance, and my insurance has basically told me that I need to know from you guys, and I give them Lisa's email and information in case they need to get a hold of her. They told me that we need to go through and finish the demo side, because right now they don't have an idea. They're going to send an adjuster out anyways. But right now they've already told me that the adjuster is going to get here, and without finishing the demo, he's just not going to know what they're going to be trying to pay for. They don't know the extent of the damage with my stuff still in the way.
Okay.
Because their building would have to be rebuilt from the outside in, not the inside out.
What's your take on the wall, Josh?
On which wall? Your wall?
The faux wall.
I need something from the
Oh, fine.
insurance company saying that. I need
What?
it in
No,
writing.
what do we need? No.
So we need to approve the contractor for the rest of the demolition?
No,
You
you
just-
don't. Well, I mean, if there's a contractor who's coming in to do the demolition, yeah, we have to get a permit. We have to get their credentials if they're not already credentialed with us.
What are we
But-
doing with the wall?
They could.
Sorry, what's happening with the wall?
Okay,
We don't know.
listen, how about this? The only issue that the city has at this point is public safety
Okay,
and the safety of individuals and people in your building and people in that area that's now fenced. If it's determined by the building inspector that the person who is the owner can proceed, and it's our understanding that you understand that people are not supposed to be on there but for you and people you hire and employ, that we don't have a public danger problem. And presumably you would notify Tressa here if you are working on the property so that she can take precautions.
To both sides.
Yeah. And then do the work if the building inspector allows them to proceed. That's the only thing we're doing here is public safety.
okay, so when talking about public safety, what are we doing with the wall?
We don't know yet.
Why?
Because we have to finish cleaning out that area before we know what to fix.
Well, I can pass this out to everybody. It says the engineer says that it's okay to let the wall fall during demo. That's not gonna happen, Josh. It needs to come down little pieces at a time. You need to give somebody a
But
plan.
he's the professional.
You
not
don't let any wall fall during a demo. It comes down a
I'm
certain
not a
way.
licensed
It's no
engineer,
difference.
so if it says that, then I would have to agree. with
All right,
Which wall are you talking about?
the front wall,
The facade.
facade.
And he also told me while he was here that looking at the structure of the facade, it's not tied to either one of the buildings. And that I'm pretty sure you were standing right there next to me when he said this, that if it does decide to come down, it should not tug on either one of the buildings because there's a stress joint between the two. So
You did
that
say
joint, that joint there is designed, so if one of the buildings was to collapse, it would break at the joint. It's like a stress crack on the sidewalk. If the concrete's gonna crack, it's gonna crack on the stress crack. Same thing with this facade. He said that there's no reason that he could, with his opinion, that it would be tied into the buildings at all. That's the reason for the stress joint.
And
That's
that's
fine.
why Josh and I put the fence up in the front. It was a mutual agreement between him and I.
So
For
that way,
safety.
if during this project it did come down, we don't have a public safety concern of somebody walking by the sidewalk or parking in the street. That's the reason for the fence.
No, I get that. That's understandable. So I just want to just make sure from here on out, we have professionals involved because it hasn't gone very well.
Well, I mean, considering if you read the code allows the property owner to, if they have the ability to do the said work.
And we're not even arguing about that. The code says at the bottom, you can do your own work if it's on your own residential property. We're not. But I just want to make sure that from this point on,
Read that.
we know what
How
we're
you
doing.
Read it, how you
Well,
read that.
Here's, I'm going to give you, I'm not your attorney.
We've been doing commercial for years and years.
Yeah.
Do you hire contractors for a reason? For public safety. That's why you hire contractors. For public safety.
I have a question. So it's our obligation to make sure that it's a certified contractor
Yeah, if there's a hired contractor,
in the city.
yes.
If there was one hired, there doesn't have to be one hired though.
219. And she's talking about number 4.
Well, what I
You
was,
guys can hash all that out later. We just want to just make sure from here on out. I'm sure there's other people have the same concerns.
I was going to tell you, I'm not your attorney, but I'm going to give you a little bit of legal advice, walking on the edge here.
Okay, that's all
If
right.
there's a desire for you to stop anything from occurring that you think is improper, you can't, it's not going to work to come here. You have to go to the district court in the county and get an injunction. Because We don't have the authority to stop it. It's private property at a certain point. We can do certain administrative things, that's where it ends. Okay?
I understand that. I have one last question. So if that's the case, when those beams were coming down, it was dangerous, and I went to you and I said, he doesn't have proper insurance. You stopped it. You did stop it. This council stopped it for a day. He called, he got insurance. He did not have insurance to cover us until that day. It was because I threw a fit. So do I need to go get a junction from now on, or do I need to come to our council?
I'm telling you right now. If you,
Well, thank God somebody did that, or they would be in a world of crap.
I
is what I'm
I
saying.
would tell you, yes, if you want to stop damage to your structure or somebody else who's adjoining it or whatever, walls or concerns about all this stuff, Valencia County District Court is your venue.
Okay, that's what I need to know.
We have very limited ability to do anything except take care that there's no obvious danger to the public.
Well, it's one way or another. You either have the person doing the work sign a waiver and get the proper insurance, or you follow the code and you have inspectors, which we have adopted the code that requires an inspector, which we shouldn't because we can't handle that. But that's the code we're following right now. And there's nobody here to inspect it. But anyway, I just want to know where we were going to go from here and when we can start taking care of the rest of the stuff. Because it was supposed to be 2 weeks. It's going to be months and months now.
Can I say something? So everybody wants this town improved, right?
Mm-hmm.
I bought the diner, I tried to improve it. You bought the church, you bought guns, you're trying to improve it. He's literally trying to improve stuff.
I get that.
So help him.
I get that. He needs to do it right so
Don't
there's not
be against
accidents. I'm not against him. I've
You
never been against
sound
him.
like you're against him,
But
Lisa.
I'm not against him. When he was taking those beams down, I'm just gonna tell you all right now, I said,
I want
we
you-
will help you. We will help you. We will get cranes out here. We could have got a crane for $800, tied onto those beams and lowered them for less than what he paid for the equipment that he had. I walked out back. He's standing in one spot. Hold on, let me
I'm
finish.
not saying that you.
What I'm saying is
I'm just
I got
making
one
sure
guy
I
on a
understand.
lip cutting it. One has a 6,000-pound beam with a cutting torch. And I go home and I hear it fall. That's not the proper way to bring it down. And that's what scared me. And that's where we need to stop right there. And if you would have had equipment to cut the wall from the up down,
I'm
we
not
wouldn't
saying
have had
everything he
it.
did
But I
was
am
right.
helping him with what I'm telling you. We're all trying to help him. Backhoe Bob
Let's
said-
cut this short, please.
Okay, said that he didn't have the right equipment. And he knows that. You guys knew that, and he did it anyway. We're here to help him. We are.
But I'm
We're here
sure
to help
from
him.
his perspective, you're not helping because you're constantly
Yeah,
on.
well, that's why we're having accidents.
I understand that too.
I get it. We don't want
I
accidents.
do want to say something else right quick. I've received one preliminary report from the inspector that came out with Josh. In that report, he said he would finalize the report and send it. I haven't yet to see that, so I don't think it's out yet. Have you gotten one, Josh?
No,
Sally, have
unfortunately.
you gotten one? And I don't know if the Williams inspectors has came out yet or not, or what, or when they're planning on him or her coming out to inspect their building. But with the two inspections that are going to take place, we will certainly have a better idea of when he can start moving again to get that rest of that building torn down and what
So
the
what is
insurance
this one?
companies are
Was
going
this
to
not
have
an
to deal with.
inspector? This was from your engineer. Why were we not taking
This wasn't the official report. This was just a statement.
This is just a statement. But I'm sure that'll be in the report on how it needs to be done.
Yeah, and so, and I haven't gotten it yet. I really thought we'd have it before tonight, but I haven't seen or heard from them. The other thing I want to mention, from what I've been able to find out about state statute requirements for insurance, the minimum insurance that was required was $300,000. And when I talked to Josh's insurance agent personally, and got a copy of the insurance paper that shows what he got, his insurance is at $500,000. So he's exceeded the state minimum. And you keep saying $1 million, and I have yet to find anywhere where it's $1 million.
You probably haven't called any contractors to tell you, but it is what it is. You can take the risk of having 500. If both buildings go down, it's not going to be enough. But either way, it's fine. He's probably got enough for one. But most people that are in this business, nobody does 500,000 as a minimum. But I just want to make sure we're moving on from here and we can finish what we started that was supposed to happen in 2 weeks. It's been a long time. And it hasn't gone.
Well, I
Very
think getting those final reports on the inspection is going to determine when we can move on.
Okay.
I personally don't want anybody in there doing any kind of work until we know it's safe for them to do so. And that's just my feeling. If the council wants to override that, or if Todd says it's okay that Josh and his crew can go in there, then that's off my back, but I'm not going to throw myself under the bus for that.
I've got no problem waiting for the engineer's reports.
No, and I think we should wait for the engineer report.
And that's where we're at.
And I agree with that. My concern is there's been requirements along the way that have come up, and I have asked you guys 3 times on what was required, what was deemed, what did I have to put up around the building to make sure it was safe, and I got no answers of anybody.
Bullshit!
No,
I
no,
told you
no,
right off the
Settle
bat.
Settle down. Hold it.
Sally, it's all right.
I'm tired of you putting me down
I didn't say nothing about you. I was talking about these.
because
Josh,
I told you exactly what to put up.
You told me orange construction.
It would be
was
fine, and that's what I read too.
That's what I'm.
And
That's
then
what
when
I'm
the
saying.
kids were starting to get in there, that's when I had to get the fence.
That's what I'm saying.
So don't
when
you dare
you didn't
say
let me
you haven't
finish.
been told.
You didn't let me finish. So what I'm saying is, I was told that orange construction fence was fine, and this is just an example. Now, along the process, we're required to put up additional fence. Now, I'm not opposed to putting up the additional fence. I don't care about that. But the problem is it should have been noted when it was asked the first time that was a requirement in the beginning. We shouldn't be putting up fence and then halfway through the project, oh, well, hey, you got to have a taller fence now. Like, we should have had
I
a
would
tall
say if
fence
you're
to
taking
start
this
with.
project on, some of that stuff you don't need to be told. And number 2, when there was not an ordinance, I asked you if you knew there was an ordinance. You said yes. You also said, I'm glad there's an ordinance now because if I do something wrong, it's on the city. We're not, this is why I'm
Well,
here.
it was on the
I'm
city.
done. I'm
It
done.
It was on the city because
done.
when I started
No,
this
Josh,
project, I was told by
That's
the
why
city
Sally's
that there
upset.
wasn't an insurance requirement. And I was also told that, and I talked to the county too, and the county told me that it reverts to the city. And so I was told that there was not a permit required for demolition. There was a building permit required, but there wasn't one. And sure enough, later on, we found one that was required. And this is what I'm talking about. Like we need to come together so when somebody else demos a building or something, that we have all this on the table up front.
I'm gonna make one statement real quick. When I ran a home daycare, which is sure as heck not pulling down a building, I was expected to understand and know that statute by heart.
That's what I was asking you guys, what I needed
So
to
it
do.
is your responsibility to find that code.
And I gave
And
you
I know
a
you
copy
guys
of
were working on it, I get it. but
I
don't point
do-
fingers and
I
say,
gave
we
you
didn't
a
have
copy.
anything. You could Google this and find it.
Yeah.
So
So that was me attempting to gain that knowledge when I come and ask you guys. for that.
absolutely, and I'm glad,
And-
but now you're trying to point fingers and say we didn't do our job. It is on you to know these codes or find them.
So
State code
how's
is-
come nobody was providing me the
State
information?
code
I was
also
asking?
is applicable when we don't have this code.
I agree.
Yeah,
That's why I was asking you for the knowledge on what I needed to
Eventually,
do because
it's
I'm
in
not
the
a
city
She
contractor.
got
code.
it, and
It's
she
in the
gave it
city
to you.
code. It's right there, 4202. The exact uniform building codes that are incorporated.
I understand that. My point, you're missing the point. My point is I'm coming to ask you guys at the beginning, is there a code that I need to follow and what is it?
And that's the code, because if you would have read the city code, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Those are public, they're available to the public. You're supposed to know this. If you don't know it, then don't do the work.
All right, we're gonna move on. Public comments still on that. Aisha, do you have something you guys want to talk about?
Nope.
Okay. Anybody else?
Is that where I am?
No.
Okay. Then no.
Okay, we're moving on to department reports now. Sally.
Okay, let's see what's first in the book. Annie.
Old Brian's on mine.
Okay. Joe Bryan, I've sent him several letters about his vehicles. He don't have them registered, they're not tagged. He says the reason one of them's not registered or tagged is because he's waiting on the title. Another one is because he don't have transmission in it.
He's told me that this has been brought up several times and the council has approved it. That it's okay.
I don't recall that. We've done it for the yard.
Clean up his yard and we kicked the can down the road a couple times and he made progress. I don't remember anything about the vehicles. Do you?
I don't recall there being the same.
There was one in the front yard that I remember that.
Yeah, he
was
did.
But I don't remember the rest.
This one here, he did get a new tarp and cover it. And made it look better. But the red one doesn't have no legal tag and the pickup in the back, which has got trash in it. Didn't I give you pictures?
Okay. The only issue is whether it's operable or not. You know,
Nope, neither one of them are.
Violation.
So I've already, I've sent letters out 3 times.
You
How I
probably
feel.
need a,
That's what I've sent out. If that helps you.
yeah, well, you probably just need to go to the next stage where you have a resolution that calls them in.
Okay.
I guess we gotta figure out too, do you have place, if we abate this and take those cars away, where we put it, where we're gonna take them? You got a towing service, you got wrecking company that would take it without a title. And we've got to think downstream a little bit on this one.
Okay. Well,
But it's enforcement's next, which is a resolution. If you guys want me to draft one, or I know I've had a couple drafts floating around on.
seen some.
Well, Becky had several resolutions that she's presented
Yeah,
at different times, so.
well, I'm probably gonna send you the same thing that she probably had, so.
Okay, I think I've
Is there a
seen
middle
some.
step that we should take of where Sally should let him know, look, you do something or we will?
I think the middle step is the resolution.
Yeah.
What you do is he'll have 10 days to ask for hearing, and they'll come here.
And we do. I think there is a letter on that.
There's a resolution that should be in the form
Yeah.
for the council to fill out, to complete,
Okay.
to approve.
Okay, on this next one, are we?
Cynthia, the best.
Yes. Todd had told me this is the one that's down here that I can't get a hold of anybody. They've got trash in the garage. And I've sent the letter, it keeps coming back, so I posted it on the door.
Where is this house?
It's
Down here by Josh.
it's just next door to Josh.
He's at the VA.
Yeah, and they won't give out any information.
And I've been sending it to his wife. Or sister or whoever the other name's on
Still have
it.
ownership. It's not been repossessed.
I haven't
The
found
county-
anything.
County still has it as Benson.
Yeah.
I just knew some people had put tarps on the roof, so I wasn't sure if the bank had
I
taken it.
think there's,
I had the bank had taken it, but I don't know.
Who'd you say, Josh, that come and put the tarps on the roof?
Somebody from Lake Ozark, they had somebody from Colorado today mowing the grass.
Really?
Seriously. Yeah. They come out and mow the grass today, and the guy told me that he comes from Colorado. He comes from mow the grass.
That sounds like a mortgage company,
That's
It
what
does.
it is.
but they're only gonna mow, they're not gonna pick up stuff, so it's not gonna change anything.
They're gonna mow it for now.
Yeah,
But I don't know what else to do.
well, I think that's probably, in my mind, I'd get another resolution. Like you did for the cars, get a resolution from these folks to approve, we'll post it on the door again. And if it doesn't get fixed, then you guys can abate it by cleaning it up.
Maybe they are in foreclosure.
It would usually, if they've actually transferred, it would show up on the English deeds office. It might be lagging, but it would be.
well, what we look at is the appraiser's
Yeah.
website, and it's not always most current, so.
Yeah.
Might call
So,
the county and see.
okay, I can do that. Okay, I got a couple other things that I didn't get in here. Any good gateway Gatewood, owns a property at 304 Southwest, or West 2nd Street. She has
Second.
passed away. It's where we got
Are you talking about the great big house that's up the
Yep.
street from me?
across,
No.
the lot across from it.
Okay, I know where you are.
2 doors down
Gotcha.
from,
Becky.
yeah, Becky. I tried to post a letter on the building telling them that they could not live in it. He come out and ripped it off and told me he had no place to go. But there. What do I do from here?
Who is he?
Who's he? Is it a squatter?
Yeah.
That sounds like law enforcement, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's a problem. You placarded it for uninhabitable structure, I'm assuming, right?
This is what I tried to hang out. You like my lamination?
I bet it was hard for him to tear it.
Yeah. He just ripped the staples right out of it. Because I was gonna put it on all 4 sides.
Yeah, I mean, everything on that is if you saw that, normally it would go to the police because tearing off the placard, this or interfering with the placarding process is a separate criminal violation. I mean, it's just, that's the only way you can get them to be removed is to have officer of the law go out and take them, remove them from the property because of the posted notice. And I don't know if the county would do that.
Was he belligerent or threatening in any way?
At first, he was hostile. And then I just looked at him and I said, hey, I'm just doing my job. I said, I'm sorry, but you're living in a rundown building that has no water, no electricity. You know, we can't allow that here.
No.
Then he kind of calmed down. And then he made the comment, nobody will give me a job around here. I have no way, you know, my truck's broke down. And that. I just don't know what else to do. I don't
The
think
house or
there's
garage, what you talking about? The lot or the house?
That old garage.
the old garage.
Right.
There's no house on it.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
So,
Who owns the property? Andy does.
yeah, but she's passed.
She didn't get rid of the property to law when she got rid of the house.
No,
Just
this is
the
another thing. He's trying to buy it for
When I
$1,000.
called Annie about that property, she says, I don't own it. It's a mistake at the city, at the county. I've never owned it.
We keep hearing this from everybody.
And that's what everybody says. And
Yep. And
so,
I,
and now she's gone. And
okay,
her husband ain't gonna probably.
I
Who's
talked to
paying
county.
taxes?
I talked to county.
Okay.
County says it is any Gatewood's property.
Well, if the taxes don't get paid on it over the next 3 years, it'd be up for tax sale.
Right.
3 years.
I bet they haven't been paid in more than 3 years.
Well, the
Well,
appraiser
yeah.
would know if they've been paid.
Somebody.
They were paid, but
Do you have
because
a-
she was still alive.
Do you have a
when
way
I-
to contact her husband?
I do not even know. I didn't even
I
know she
think
was
that I
married.
do. I will see if I can reach out to him.
Yeah, I didn't realize she was married.
Did he pay and she just didn't know? Kind of a scenario. I don't know.
That whole
She-
corner up there is kind of a weird situation
Yeah.
because things were going to one individual and then other things were going to somebody else that are still alive and well-being. And then, but the county still has it in
Because the one
its
next door is owned by Linda.
Yeah.
And it's in.
Lisa's helped me a lot on this one.
Well, I mean, it's like, in the county, you can have, tax notices mailed to Tim Wines at P.O. Box 123.
So, okay,
That's in
you do that,
She's in the apartments though.
and then we'll go from there.
I will
You'll
attempt
find out.
to-
Yeah, you can let me
She's
know,
10 acres.
and then we'll
He
go
owns
from
it.
there. Okay, now,
It's a rental.
funeral home up here. I had spent a week trying to get a hold of somebody to get them in there to mow that. I posted it on the door.
Well, it's up for auction.
I know that. And do you know none of those mortgage people will talk to you on the phone?
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, Todd and I are probably the only two that know
Well, you're
that.
a lawyer. Would they talk to anybody else?
No.
No, you
It's
can
a-
leave messages all
There's a
you
giant-
want.
There's a giant computer that doesn't answer questions. It just spits out over somewhere.
So the
Nobody
auction
knows what
Friday,
it is.
Annie?
Oh, shoot, I don't remember.
It
Was
is
it 12? I
13th.
thought, yeah.
Oh, is it?
Friday the
It's
13th.
coming up, yeah.
Well, I guess
Friday
we can.
13th by funeral.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Somebody came in
We
today.
had some
Wow,
complaints.
I didn't
It's a movie in
even.
the making.
We've
Might be
had
able to
some.
get it for $50.
We've had some people question, why it's not being mowed, how it looks bad for the city. I don't know what else to do on it.
Well, hopefully there's a new owner soon and they'll actually take care
So
of it.
you
this
said
time.
that's on the 13th. That's this Friday, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I'll give it another week. So, okay, now. Who is responsible when they don't have to push on? Okay. People that don't have service.
Mhm.
I've sent letters out.
You mean no utilities?
Yeah,
Okay.
utilities. Who pushes on from there, me or Lisa?
Well, you shut off utilities?
No,
They
they
don't
don't
have any
have
at
them.
They've been out for
Okay.
years.
Just like the guy living in the garage.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a nuisance issue. It's like I said, because you don't have any utilities, the damage is stopped monetarily for the city. The next step is that if somebody's there, you placard it as being uninhabitable. And either they leave or you could have, but it's law enforcement after that. I don't expect nuisance officers to actually remove anybody. They were just witnesses to the fact that somebody either is living there with it being placarded, or they tore up the placard or got rid of it. So we're back right to the police have to be able to go there and remove somebody.
The first step is to placard.
And that's the laminated thing is, I think, close to it. I thought I'd done a different one, but maybe not.
What if they pay their bill?
But Bill,
If they
Their
pay it and
utility.
turn it on, then they're good.
yeah, they gotta get turned up, they gotta turn it on, and they gotta get a deposit in.
Is there outstanding? I have no idea who we're talking about, but is there an
Well,
outstanding?
we got a few of them.
That's why the utilities are off, yes.
And they're gonna have to
So they have to pay the.
Pay
Is
the
there a
past-
penalty on?
Past due plus the reconnection fees.
We're talking over a year without utilities on. At least one of them. I don't know about the other ones.
I think all are over a year. One of them's been a few years.
So does that past due penalty, does that keep coming each month? Like what is it if you don't pay your bill? $20 fine?
No, it's a percentage, but once the utilities have been disconnected, there's no additional penalty.
That's what I wanted to know.
I mean, they were penalized while their service was still active, but once it's disconnected, that
Stops.
doesn't
They're not
doesn't
using any more
accumulate.
water, sewer, whatever, or should be.
I've been receiving the money, so I didn't know if there was still a fee applied. I could see that going either way.
I mean, when it was disconnected, there would have been probably to hang a notice, it's $8, and to reinstate, once they pay to reconnect, it's a $30 fee. 99% of that's all jurisdiction by KCC, so
That's gas stuff.
yeah.
Darn case.
But anyway,
Okay, one more thing and then I'm done for a while. If I read the permits right, to sell baked goods or anything on Main Street, they gotta have a permit. Am I wrong?
A permit to sell?
Tell me, Todd, if I'm reading this one right.
Like a
Yeah,
bake
get
sale?
specs on.
Which canvassers, yeah, the solicitors, canvassers, and peddlers. If I think that's only if they don't have a business in town. I think my understanding. A stand located temporarily in the street or sidewalks. Yeah, I would say if you've got a business that just does like sidewalk sale or whatever, I don't think that's a violation. I don't think there's street sales.
Dunn's used to put the clothing racks on the
Yeah.
sidewalk.
Yeah, that's all, the canvasser, solicitor, peddler, everything, transit merchant is, let's face it, it's a attempt to stop itinerant merchants. not
So
to
there's
stop
a,
locators.
I'm gonna guess this is what Sally's talking about. There's a family here in town that has a business. And the last few Fridays or whatever, they've set up a table on Main Street to sell their baked good.
And it's for other business or?
No, they don't have a Main Street business. They have a business out of their home.
A home, okay.
They're not setting up in front of their home. They're setting up on Main Street where in front of an
The
occupied
An occupied building
business.
without the,
In front of the grocery
I think
store.
they have
guess.
permission to be out front.
okay, well,
That's not the issue, I don't think.
yeah, I don't think,
It sounds like if they're in front of the grocery store and the grocery store gives them permission, I can see that as
It's just a remote. I would kind of think of that as the same thing as Dunn's putting the
I would too.
clothes on the sidewalk. It's a local business that's got a temporary standout. I wouldn't see
I
that.
don't
as
think
a
it would go in front of the
transit.
post office, but
Right,
in
no,
front of a different
I
or
couldn't
city
get that
hall.
permission.
well, I mean, all this does is requires the merchants to get a license. I mean, if they've got a residence in town, if they're conducting business, my take is that's overkill. If they were coming in from out of town or something, I'd probably say, yeah.
So do they have a license from the state to have their business at home?
Need checks.
Well, they wouldn't,
I'm
they
pretty
wouldn't
sure
need
she
a
does.
license.
I think she's operating
You
correctly.
mean
Yes.
sales tax license?
Yes, I'm
Yeah, I knew
sales
she's got a
tax
sales
license.
tax. because
Yes,
she goes
she
to
pays
flea
sales tax.
markets.
The
I do know
glasses
that.
are still laying there, Sally. I do know that. Okay. That should be it.
Did they need another chair?
Sally, you, at the last meeting, you had several properties that needed to be
Very good.
mowed and we tabled it to this meeting. Do you remember that? Are you gonna,
Well, still the ones
is it
that,
planned out to mow it after this meeting? Mow them?
I mean, we really didn't give me a definite answer on the school, the old school, and I just talked about the one.
And,
Oh, Cynthia.
yeah,
Actually, I need to go see. I found a girl that does mowing on the side. Cynthia called her, so I need to see if she's got up there and got it done. Cynthia hired somebody to come in and do it.
so I
Does
think we
the
need to,
city have a set fee that they charge? I looked through the code and I didn't look thoroughly, but I didn't.
For the mowing?
Like if the city, if to abate the nuisance, does the city have a fee established to?
Like
Because
70.
We discussed this when we were talking about the apartments, because they were wanting to hire somebody to do it. We decided it was city property, so the city should do it. And if the city employees had to go mow it for somebody else, what we discussed at that time is it would be just their hourly wage.
That's
If
what
you're talking
somebody
about a
told
letter
me.
and a forced mow, if the ordinance doesn't say you're allowed to set a fee. Fee should be the cost of time, and materials, gas, whatever it takes to mow for the city employees to do that. If they
I'd
do,
even throw in her time
yeah,
on that.
Oh,
there's
yeah,
all reasonable, and if it's,
but does that
if
have
it's
to be
like
set by
97
ordinance?
no.
It doesn't, okay,
I
I
think
didn't
if
know.
you say, if you guys put pen to paper and can justify it, that's all I think.
okay.
Because
I
each
just-
one could take a different amount of
Yeah.
time to mow.
It's, if you want to set like, this is as much as an hourly rate for the worker, here's usually the gas per hour. You
Okay,
can do it that way, or you could just,
If you hit a minivan that's buried in the yard and they bust a spindle on the mower, we can bill them for that too.
minivan?
That was a possibility one time a few years ago. You remember that? There was a minivan that was parked in somebody's front yard and we.
Then you're getting a minivan?
So what about the schools?
What about them? Because I think the question was, can they bail it? And that in the minutes it says we said no.
yeah, they said it exceeds the 12-inch height limit and
And I think he tried to say we said he could, and that
I've never
it didn't
heard
happen.
that.
No,
I have never heard from him.
The only thing I know about him and bailing is bid on the property out the lake and they never cut it. Anybody gonna do that this year?
Greg Bryan's still, or not Greg Bryan, Greg
Baron.
Barron's still under contract with that 5 year, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever given him permission.
I don't ever recall it either.
So if you only know it all.
I think that stuff around the school has been cut, and it's raked, and he's waiting it to dry.
He must have
And I
did
do
it
think
today.
It's actually in the ordinance that says the only exception to that 12-inch is if you're gonna pay it. I think it's actually written in
Oh,
the
my Lord.
ordinance.
Is that their side?
I have
Just to
no
be
other
sure,
idea.
just to be
Leave it
sure.
up.
I mean,
Leave
can a
it.
person just suddenly be like, I want my residential or commercial building to hay it,
No.
hay the yard with that? Okay, there's your
I'm sure
answer.
that's not.
You can't do that.
So let's look at the ordinance. We'll see what it says and we'll
Yep.
verify that.
There you go. And now I'm gonna
So we're
go
gonna
to sleep tonight.
Go forward.
That's already cut, so there's nothing to go forward with.
All right, next up, Julie, you're up.
There's an hourly rate depending on what machine they use. That's how it works.
I don't think we required that.
Always on
I
the
just
low end, but it could be like
had a
that.
couple of questions. You guys had approved me on gravel last time you had a meeting. I haven't seen a rock. So I was just wondering, if there's a timetable on when I'm gonna get some gravel.
No.
Okay,
Not that we know of. It depends on how busy the maintenance guys are right now and what's going on. I know.
Well-
I spoke to Jim about some of the vehicle stuff that we had talked about before, and they've been having issues with the water plant, and that has kept at least two of them quite busy for quite a while. So
I
that takes priority over graveling a parking lot.
I need a couple of things.
Have you seen it?
Well, you'll think that if a camper falls over in that crater that's
If the
going
whole
down
city
that way-
dies because the water poisons them, I think that wins.
Anyway, I have the light on the boat ramp that needs on. The outside
It
shower,
still hasn't been mounted.
it's there. It just burned out.
So it's a
So it
light
just
bulb.
goes into a bulb.
Yeah, I can't reach it. I don't have a ladder like that. It's way in the
Yeah.
thing. I was worrying about the sand, which I guess that's probably the same as the gravel.
Well, wasn't sand on hold because of the rain.
Yeah.
There was a specific reason for that.
And my grass is over 6 inches tall. I'll be getting a letter from Sally before long.
I'll come and vote for
How did the
you.
camping ground?
Julie, will you text me a picture of that light fixture? Because I have a ton of various bulbs.
Oh, it just takes one, one of those round ones.
Julie, I've got an
A lot of
extension
bulbs
pole
around,
that
Julie.
have that will fit different shapes of bulbs,
Thank you, Tim.
if that would help. I mean,
I'm sorry.
I've got an extension pole and there's a fitting on the end that will accept different shapes of bulbs. I mean, it'll reach, I don't know how tall.
It's up there pretty good. It's in the crease of the
Yeah, I mean, I
big
might
house.
bring it out and see if that would help.
Okay, maybe if I put a tall person on the end of it.
If you just send me a picture of that light fixture, I might be able to just run out there tomorrow with a bulb, one or two bulbs.
That or
I'm
Just
not-
send me a picture.
I
Of it.
have. I'm good.
what
Zoom
kind of
in
light
on
is
it.
it?
My eyes are bad.
Okay, I will.
Julie, I might add, I really like this report you gave us too, or that printout.
We talked about the
Oh,
other day.
yeah.
The firefly
Oh, well,
report.
thank you.
Are your cameras up?
Report, they said they couldn't give me that.
At the last meeting, Sam, I said that I was gonna put them up, but then I was told that it's gonna cost us a monthly fee, so then I was like, I don't remember that. So I didn't want to do it and then have to pay $200 a month, because
It's not $200 a month. I actually presented that when I presented them.
Is it like
During
$19.99 a month or something?
I think
$19.99.
mine's $10.90.
$10.99 something, $19.99 something.
so we
It's less than
did we
$20.
approve that with them?
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember and I just didn't wanna make a mistake, so.
Better safe than sorry.
Thank you, Julie.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Kramer. Mr. Ben Kramer.
So, one thing I want to talk about is the
the sewer project overall, your loan from KDHE, Lisa got an email from Kara with KDHE, and your repayment would have started September 9th of this year, but they want to amend the loan, and they're going to push that repayment period out till March of 2027. So they'll be sending you a loan amendment to sign. So it's just a heads up, FYI. There was a note in there that said they hadn't received amendment number 3. And I think I'll get together with Lisa and we'll see where that's at. And that was August last year. So if you can check maybe records there and we can talk about that.
Okay.
So that's just, so the loan, how that would typically have worked is that you repay it 2 years after your first draw, which we have not had a draw, or 1 year after the end of the construction, which has not occurred either. So it's just a process that the loan has to be amended to push it out a couple more years. I know we may get to that time and it may still not apply, and we may amend it again for another year or something. It just depends on how we decide to take our loan dollars. The other thing I just wanted to mention, we are bidding the wastewater treatment site. It bids this Thursday, the 12th. And then if we receive bids on that, I plan to bring those back to the council on the 23rd. And I think Lisa has no agenda for that. We've had a lot of interest in it. We've got several plan holders. Contractors seem to act like it's a nice project and they'd like, to bid on it. So let's hope we get some good bids.
Where are we on getting all those letters
Yeah, how many
signed?
signatures? have we got back?
Not a whole lot, but they are trickling in. I'm gonna send out a reminder with like that explanation that you gave. I thought people may be more, and I've had look at the map and say, oh, okay, I think it's on the back burner and so
It's tough to
I've
get
got
easements.
public awareness, the consumer confidence report, and something else I was gonna mail, and I thought I could just include a reminder for the.
You
And I'm-
giving them the notice for the relocation act? When they do this?
Yes, yeah, they got that at the get-go.
Okay.
I've had several talk to me at the post office too, and then I go, "Did you turn it in yet?" And a couple of them are had. Other ones, they're like, "Oh, I'm getting there," basically. So they are moving a little bit.
So on the easements, the mayor just asked that I come to the meeting tonight just to answer any questions the council may have. I sent out an email that at least asked some questions the council had. Just want to know if there were any other follow-up questions to that. If we need to talk about those, we can.
I got a letter from the Nutters. I guess it was to you. Is that forwarded on to anybody?
Well, and I had it down for the 23rd because that's what the date was I had in my mind, so. I did forward it to Ben, so Ben was aware of it, but. And
You
a
can
lot
share
of their
that.
property is the liner, it's not even.
Yeah. And one thing I noticed in their letter from the attorney that it talked about new sewer. Well, it's existing sewer. I guess you could call a new liner in it a new sewer, but there's an existing sewer on their property now, and we're just making sure we cover it with an easement.
Well, I mean, that's what you gotta, so they just don't have the information because they think that it's gonna be dug up because we're talking about compacted soil compaction to existing grade, which may not be in play here. Fence is torn down. No permanent roadway built from First Street.
Yeah, they live on First Street, but the sewer is clear to the north of their property.
Okay. And reconnect their residents.
So when they do reconnect that residence, depending on what process is going to happen there to replace the sewer, there could be some earth removed to reconnect their service. But if it's done with the CCIP piping, then we can reinstate that through the pipe and not even get into their yard.
Is that part of what the contract is gonna do is replace the service connections?
That we are replacing all service connections Some of them can be reinstated within the pipe and not be dug up. I did not look at the nutters to see how that one was going to be. So this is just one of the sheets I think I sent to Lisa that shows the easements. And there is one here that's number 43, 44 and 45, is it?
43 and 44, I believe. It's
Yeah.
Bill Ridinger
Right,
and
right,
Juanita
right.
Cornett down here.
So, one of the questions was, do we know where the sewers are? Well, yeah, we've located all the sewers. Mike, went out with us. We found the manholes. That one in particular, though, we could only locate the manhole, and then they TV'd this line, but we don't know where that clean out goes. We can only assume by looking in the manhole which direction it goes, and that's what we come up with. And so that is one line that Mike and I've talked about it. That line may just have to be abandoned because it goes underneath the garage. And then we put in a grinder pump and a force main and hook their services to it. But I think that's something we'll determine when the contractor gets here, because they can locate that, dig it up. We're not, we don't go out and dig these lines up to know where they're at. We can only find the manholes and then locate the manholes.
And that was a question that we had is half of us thought that you were saying that you knew where the lines were, and the other half of us were saying, no, you just knew where the main taps were.
Manholes.
So that the manholes. So,
So the sewers run, so we have located the sewer manholes, all the manholes in town. And then the sewers run between manholes. So we know, we haven't dug that line up. If there's a little variance, we don't have
you don't
that
know if
dug.
they're in the alley or in.
They know it's a straight line from
It's a straight
manhole to
line.
manhole.
We shoot those manholes, and in the computer we draw, and those lines are that we show on here. This is, we've shot these manholes, and then that's the line between manhole to manhole, like from here to here, from here down there. But we plotted these using the county GIS, and you can see the properties here. And we've plotted these sewer lines the best they can. What we don't have is a boundary survey on every tract. So I think that's where the confusion came in, is that running down alleys, we show the line according to the county GIS where it shows to be, but we didn't survey every line, every boundary property to have exact location of the boundary. So we know where the sewers are. We just don't know where the boundary is. But we feel confident in what we've done here using the county aerials and their right of way. And that's typical of these type of projects. When we shoot these manholes, we're out in the field, and this manhole's here. It's not this aerial isn't shifted, and we're not over here with the manhole. We know we're in this road surface. Now this line, I brought this particular sheet because this line is not in a road, not in an alley. It's across people's properties there. It's an existing line. That line, the easement, the way it's written, is centered on the sewer line. So wherever that sewer line is where that easement becomes, because it's a 30-foot permanent easement centered. That's how it's written. It's 30-foot permanent easement centered on the sewer line.
Line is laid.
Yes,
Is this one out behind the nursing home?
I believe so.
I think so too.
Just north of
Yeah.
First Street. Yeah. I don't know if you've talked to any of those people or not.
Monty Hayes came in
Man,
when those letters first went out. Now, he didn't have a problem with it, but his is it's in his mother's name, and it's a
I'm surprised you didn't say
trust.
that.
I believe he said Tom Barnes was his attorney.
He was,
Okay.
he is client.
Okay, so anyway, but yeah, I have talked to one individual anyway.
So your rodeo fence is coming.
So talk to Mike about that one too. That it's going to go
This-
through some bleachers.
Yeah.
There's been some question about those. and we'll try to move them if they can't be moved. And I think that's one issue. If they can be moved and the contractor destroys them because of moving, that's a second issue.
Who do you have to warranty title on this?
I don't have anybody to warranty that one. You will be signing off on assurances.
Really?
Well, if
Not anytime soon. I'm serious. How many are there?
211.
211.
Mhm.
Okay.
So when you say warranty title,
Yeah.
we've gone to the county, got their records. We have all the deeds that they show.
Yeah.
And that's how we prepared the easements.
Mhm. And
If
is
you-
there a clear and a broken chain of title 25 years before the existing easement? You check that? And it doesn't matter if you checked it or not, frankly, because if I'm warranting title, I'm checked there. I don't farm it out to anybody. That's my law license. And
I mean, that's obviously something that can be up to you to do, because you've got to sign the assurances for the city. And you've signed them, I'm sure, many times. In the
yeah,
past.
and every time I've done it, I've actually done the title work.
Okay.
So
Well, we weren't hired to do the title work.
I got you.
And so if the city wants to hire you to do title work, I can understand that. If that's what that means.
Well, what I'm trying to say, I just, again, want everybody to understand the 200 properties at basically an hour a piece is 200 hours. That's an entire month's worth of work. I mean, me not doing anything but that.
And how much per hour, Todd?
$200 an hour.
How much?
$200 an hour. That just assumes that everything checks out.
That's cheaper than you're charging us to be here.
Same
Aren't you
amount.
charging us 300 an hour here?
No, but now I'm gonna start. But that's what, and that's the problem too, is I can't take a month off and everything to
These
sit down and shut the county and do title search.
It's lower than the door rate at the dealership.
The what?
It's lower than the door rate at the
I
dealership.
want you to remember that. Come back. But yeah, and that's what I'm telling you guys is that you cannot bid the project until the title is warranty. Now, if a title company gives me policies or coverage that is the equivalent of that search, then I'm happy. And I'll sign off on it because I've got 211 title reports. But depending on what the timing of this is, that's it. I can't do it in, probably take me, I don't know how long. Just I don't have 200 hours to give.
Give them to Quentin. I know. I was trying to.
That looked like
That's not a lot. That looks at a whole lot.
So you're saying the title search company can warrant these for you?
Yeah, the title company, if they want to do the search and give me their title reports, I'll be glad to sign off on it.
And then I'm sure they'd be charging us for doing that, right?
Yeah, usually, I mean, I don't know, around here, I've seen it for 100.
Cheaper than that one, yeah.
Yeah, $125, $150 an hour, or a report. So they take the risk that, there's a weird one out there that you spend hours figuring out. I got to chase down an estate or something, or whatever. So
But you've worked with the title company too as well.
Trying to figure out ownership,
Some of
but
them.
I don't have title.
somebody's got to say this person is vested with good title to the property if they're a new person giving us an easement, or the easement that exists passes the title standards. So,
You said the easement that exists.
meaning if you're relying on an existing easement, say that it was signed in 1965, you have to look at the deed record to figure out if the person who signed it in 65 had clear and unbroken chain of title 25 years before that. Now you're seeing why I'm going to be there for you.
Yeah, and in this case, we don't have any prior easements, so
Okay, well, it's all
yeah,
new.
but it's a good thing to know. they could never find any easements for the prior projects. We probably wouldn't be here if,
Okay,
they had easements.
but they're on private property, right?
Some more, yes.
Okay. Well, you don't need them if it's in the right of way, obviously, so maybe they thought they were.
Yeah. So the ones that are in right of way are in 20-foot alleys, and we're getting that additional 10 foot on each side for have construction purposes. So the city can go in there and resolve issues in the future too.
Well, there's probably only one or two guys who do it in Alma, so if you want to give them a call and see what they quote you on 211 title searches.
Bulk discount.
Yeah.
Well, the
I
register
didn't
of
hear
deeds
Tom
not
on
giving
that.
us a bulk discount.
I wouldn't expect a bulk discount on something like that.
So Todd, you said we couldn't bid the project. Is it not that you can bid it, but you
Well,
couldn't
you
award it?
can't. No, you can't
You can't
move
award
dirt, which is a problem because you're probably going to give them timing when you bid it, right?
Mhm.
You're going to say notice to proceed given whatever date.
it. Well, their bid bond
And
is only good for so many days.
yeah, and then also the issue becomes, I think, if there is anybody who does not agree to grant an easement, that
Absolutely.
that we have to condemn, and I would have to do that. But usually you get down to at least a manageable number, and you can talk to whether this is still the case is a question. But they've always been forgiving if we filed the condemnation action before construction. But I think the real official position is you have to have the award paid by the time of construction, which vests title of property when the payment is done in the condemnation action. So the first question is if you don't get everybody who's holding out, and how do you get it? Because if you can determine that faster, do it so that those properties can get a condemnation. There's just no way around it. It's going to cost what it's going to cost at that point. You're going to pay the value. So that's if your timelines are in that zone, that's what you're going to have to do.
And I'd asked Lisa the other day if she'd had very many people that were opposed to it, and I think you'd said that not really. But there are some specific cases, probably like the Nutters and things, that have questions, and then others just aren't falling back in here yet. So we don't know whether they have issues or not. Todd, I had a question there on the lagoon site, the wastewater treatment facility. The city owns that. What do you need there for title work?
Well, you need the same thing.
So you need
Yeah, I mean, that's just one property, but
right, but I need to get that to you, I guess.
yeah, that's going to be important because you need a preliminary title report when it's done, and then we'll supplement it when the loan comes out, because if it's a USDA loan, they'll get mortgage in the property. And they need to have the legal and the instruments prepared for that. So
Who typically does those?
I do.
Do them, okay.
But they're not tough.
So,
But I
but
did-
you need,
But I need a legal, and that needs to be on the list of title searches. Clear it, and it's good. But it needs to be done, and then once I get that and a legal description, I'm probably good to go. That's all I really need.
so you need something certified from the title company though,
Yeah,
that the city owns that.
Yep.
And then we'll have a description for it.
Yep.
I can go ahead and follow through and getting that done.
yeah, and remember, it's every piece of property that the city owns has to be in that for USDA. Meaning this one too, not just the sewer.
Hmm.
At least that's what they always told me.
So that goes in the loan and the mortgage on the loan.
Yep.
All city property.
And the IGA bill.
What about lake property, like the North Shore?
No, not park property. We're talking about,
Okay.
we're talking about either buildings, residential,
A water plant?
commercial, water plant, yep, water plant, real estate.
Bait house?
Huh?
Bait house?
Permit office?
At a certain point, yeah, we probably ought to ask these questions, but they've told me that they're interested. They've looked them up.
What about
And
the
told me.
steakhouse? We don't own the steakhouse, but
No. Well, the bear expect you on the ground.
Who's your USDA person?
There are none.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, that's right. They've all gone away.
I mean, we've had Muhammad, we've had
Is that Mike Lee or whatever?
Pan, he's gone. I
Mike,
think.
he is?
And I think only one running that I know is Dan Fisher, and I can call Dan about,
Yeah, that would be I'd probably just.
he stepped back down, I think, or from his position to try to help these. But we were working with Mike. But he's,
just telling you, when I've done it for cities or water districts, they always said, give me all the city property,
okay.
Not just the.
I'll check with Dan.
Almost certainly the water, the lagoons.
Now, do you think that would come with the lagoon project? I guess we'd have to have all the city
Yeah, that would be the
properties
faster one, the lagoons. But you're going to be okay on that one. Just get that.
Just the lagoon.
Yeah, get that done quick.
But when we do the sewer in town, then they have to have all the properties for the city.
Yeah. Okay. You don't get a treatment. You don't have a treatment plant set. Okay.
Just no. Just
All right.
lagoons.
Ben, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Next up, can pay credit card processing.
So last meeting, I asked council if they'd be interested in looking at accepting credit cards here in City Hall. And I reached out to CanPay. It's this company. It's located in Topeka. They're owned by Tyler Technologies. Anyway, I had a video conference with Amber Purcell was her name. Anyway, there's absolutely no cost to the city for this. Their credit card charges are to the customer for 2.5%. There's no fee to set up. There's no cost for this. There's no machinery cost. They come out, they do all the training. Customer support is phenomenal. So it's just a matter of whether the council wants to go forward with this.
And it's just a simple swipe
It's
machine
just,
that
they
you
gotta
have.
swipe,
They can do it online too, without even swiping.
Well, we already have online payment, but it's a $10 fee on top of the. Yeah, it's kind of heavy. But
not for utilities.
Yeah, when I've tried to pay with my card online, it's $10. Am I
you
crazy?
charge
Does anybody else pay online?
I pay automatic. There's no extra fee.
2.9 is what
Yeah,
they charge
you've
us.
got to give notice of that convenience fee.
Yes.
You're talking
Well, and KCC approved that and everything, but
I guess
it's like 4 weeks to set it up from start to finish as far as.
your own bank.
I'm curious
But there's
about
not a
that. If
$10
you're getting
fee.
charged, is other people getting
that's
charged?
the reason I stopped paying online.
It's like 2.9%.
Yeah,
If you
I think
use,
it's
checks are a little bit different. I don't know. I do not like that vendor at all, but I can't,
Yeah,
you can't change.
that's gas.
Well, that's
it's the
That's-
utility.
our whole utilities.
Yeah. Well, I think the law is that you can charge that processing fee. At
Oh,
3%.
yes, definitely.
That's the limit. There shouldn't be
Definitely.
any other charges on there.
But anyway, so it's just a matter of whether the council wants to move forward and start accepting cards in-house.
What do you guys think?
I think it's a good idea,
I do too.
So sounds like
especially if there's no cost to us.
the fee seems reasonable to me. So
Well, it's less than what the online utility, it's 2.9 on the online utility.
Yeah, you never turn down money when it's offered to you, regardless of how they pay it.
True enough.
Do they need a motion for that, Todd?
No.
Okay.
If you're not contracting for it, right?
Nope,
All right.
nope. You can start and stop anytime you want.
All right.
Let us know when we get it set up so we
Sounds like
can
me
put the word out.
Okay.
Moving on. Are you done?
Yep, I am finished.
Okay. Ordinance 572, an RV permit. Bringing this up because it was brought to my attention here recently that we've been allowing people to sleep in their RVs while they're remodeling their homes. And then this ordinance popped up and it talked about that. Does everybody have a copy in there? Have you had a chance to look it over?
I probably wrote it. Right? You asked me to see it?
No, I mean, this was passed in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only concern I have with it is that the ordinance as written only allows 30 days and only one time a year.
Well, this was different. This was, I mean, if you're talking about allowing for the purposes of construction, we've got a different ordinance for that.
So if we have a different ordinance for that, I'd like to see.
Well, you haven't passed it.
I haven't seen it. It just, I mean, Annie just asked at the last meeting that the home that was destroyed by fire, the council allowed her to up to 6 months to live in the RV while they finished their
Clean up and rebuild.
And
Yeah.
she wanted a permit application, and we just
Then we've
weren't
got a start date to track.
Right.
well, we just didn't have it because when you granted permission to Bruce's up on Locust, nothing was mentioned. And
I'm sorry, I didn't even think about it then, I guess.
well,
I
no,
saw
that's
that.
okay. I just
Yeah.
but then we pulled this, and this is the only ordinance we've seen, and it only allowed for 30 days. So
I think this makes me think of the Urtons. I think they were gonna remodel a bathroom, wasn't that? And I think we added it then, I thought.
The
This is
purpose
some
for
dollars.
this one is one that was set up for people who have people visiting with RVs. And there was some folks in Auburn who were living in an RV on their parents' property. So that's just that. If you want to get, I got a different one that handles the 6 months while you're constructing.
I think I guess we applied it to this.
Just to be clear, I mean, that, to me, this isn't clear what you just stated. It's clear for people using it for up to 30 days period. It doesn't say anything about vacationing, people showing up for relatives for that time. And
Yeah, well, that was, well, I mean,
I understand the intent, but also can see where arguments could come in.
yeah, and it was worded that way so it wouldn't be a dispute over, well, is it your cousin or your war buddy or whatever. Yeah, it was just said, okay, you got 30 days or whatever time you got. You don't need police excuses. We just need to make sure that it's not over this amount of time.
Well, and should there be something in here as well that addresses those that are using it for remodeling purposes, like the two families we've just
No
allowed to
problem
do
in
that?
adding this another section to this that says just.
I mean, it's noted in the minutes when permission was granted, as far as if you want to, as far as time frame, it's in the minutes. But whether you want to add something to that and republish an ordinance and.
We can add a line to this, or we can reserve the authority to waiver things as we see fit, as needed.
Keep it simple. That's what I like.
Because they can always come back if they need an extension.
Yeah, we told them
And we
that.
told
We
them
did.
Because I don't think my neighbors are living in there yet.
But we told them that if they're
I
gonna
don't think
exceed the
so.
6
He never did
months,
come back. I think he was gonna come and tell us.
Yeah.
I believe we told them if they exceed the 6 months, they need to give us a 30-day notice that they're going to exceed the 6 months so we can address it.
Because I think he said he was gonna do it once the sewer line was hooked up, and I don't think he's done that yet.
That sewer line shouldn't have any bearing on his remodeling that house.
No,
No,
he was
the
just
sewer line
going
to
to
his
Oh, the
trailer.
hook the camper
Okay.
up to the
So
city
to be
sewer
direct.
because he's got water there.
And you're talking about the one next door to us?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're not doing the sewer up there in that area anyway, are they?
Generally.
He's hooking up his camper to the
He's
sewer.
working on his house.
So he's waiting to hook up his camper to the sewer, the city sewer.
He wants to hook his
I
trailer.
understand that, but in that block, I don't think they're gonna do anything to the sewer, so why can't he go ahead and get it in?
I don't know.
That's my question.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
I think he was finding out and coming back when he was gonna do it. So he's just not doing it yet. That's all. That's the hang up.
All right.
He may not be ready to remodel yet. I don't remember. So we're okay with leaving it as is. We're not gonna change anything on this.
Okay.
Is that what we're saying? I'm asking you. I'm clear.
I am, because this is the way that we've been operating for quite some time. We haven't seen an issue with it.
I mean, this has
It's
been
the only one I can think of.
three total. 4 times.
All right, next up is bulk water and cameras.
Just wondering if the council give any more thought about the issue of people getting bulk water and
I've always had an issue with this, and
I thought we were gonna take one of those cameras over, but is it a connection issue? Cause that's what I wondered, if you would be able to connect to the internet over there. Do we have
There's internet at the
like
shop, yes.
Wi-Fi?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you could.
So you could. So
But
that's
does
the
that,
plan. Is to,
I didn't know if you could separate those. I don't know anything about.
You can put them
those
wherever you
cameras.
want. Yeah, I don't think there's a distance issue. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure you can put them wherever. Most
we're about to find out.
yeah, we can test it and see what happens, and if it really is an issue. But you should be able to buy as many cameras as you want and put them wherever you want, as long as you can hook them up to your Wi-Fi. I think you can continue to keep them all
I
on
didn't
the
know
same
if the
the
bulk
monitor.
of 5 of them had to be
Together.
together, or if you could separate, put one here at City Hall and one at the shop and one
I
at
think
the
it's okay to
beach.
separate them.
You can, okay.
And then you just log into them basically for your
We'll find out.
the online thing that you were asking about. Why can't my brain come up with that word? Monitoring system, whatever.
Application.
App.
Good enough.
Moving on. Lake trash. Lake trash. I'm assuming they're talking about near the rope swing. I have no idea.
Yeah, I believe that's what it
Rock
was.
floating around.
So what's about the lake trash?
It was just to be on the last meeting to put it on this.
I think we bumped it, but we do need to have something over there so that it's just not thrown everywhere. But I don't know what the answer is to it, because one of those carts that the trash people use, I mean, how are you gonna dump that?
Well, like
Yeah,
Sally
haul
said,
it
the
to
last
dump
time it ended up in the lake.
Right.
Yeah, because there's a storm.
They blow away.
Which is easy with a fence post pushed into
No.
the ground, and you can.
Sally said they don't want that because then they have to get out of the truck, go back and then.
They're not gonna
Well,
dump
they're
it.
not gonna
Exodus
be
will-
the
they're not
ones
gonna
going
put it
over
That's
and
right,
dumping
that's
it.
right,
They can't
It'll
drive
be-
across the dam
Right.
with that truck.
that's right.
So whoever, I mean, it would be
True.
Julie going to go pick it up. So it'd have to be bagged, whatever we do, and then she can pull it. But I know that's a pain either way.
Comment.
That's been the problem.
Have you ever considered asking LWID if they would add that to their route?
Yes, I believe they said no too, didn't they?
I don't remember
I
doing that.
thought that they did, because I know that you had suggested that before. but
Yeah.
sure, I don't remember
You
where it
did.
went from there.
And I'm pretty sure that
I don't remember.
they weren't going across the spillway or.
That sounds right. Wouldn't hurt to ask them again, I guess.
No, we could.
Ask LWID if they would add that one site on.
But is it
And what
still
they-
gonna be an issue? Their carts aren't any heavier than Exodus as far as,
The other trucks.
no, if the trash cart's sitting by the rope
Oh.
swing and the wind blows it into the lake. I don't
Bungee
know if
into that
that's
building.
why, I don't know if that was the
Could've
reason
twisted
that
around and bungee
a
for it.
55-gallon drum was suggested last meeting, or,
Sally, are you still here?
I still think a 55-gallon drum, because you can stick a black trash bag in it
uh-huh.
and you can pull one out of it. And you can make it stationary.
You can't stop them from burning it though. You want to stop the trash at the rope swing? Cut the tree down.
I think they'd still park over there. I don't actually think it's the rope swing. There are people out there.
I'm gonna still dump off that bite off.
Right.
I mean, shallow spot to get in. I don't think that's gonna solve a hangout
You're right.
situation.
You're right. It won't.
I'm just
You're right.
throwing
No,
that
you're
out
right.
there.
You're right. It
People
won't
like the
stop 'em.
spillway,
If
even
you have a metal drum, at least if they burned it, it wouldn't melt.
Right.
they wouldn't leave. Yeah.
We could use a plastic drum and just, maybe that will discourage them from burning it, but
I wouldn't see them burning the fire inside the drum very frequently anyway.
No.
Not when you have a ring there.
There's no ring there.
There isn't a rock ring anymore?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
those rock rings disappear. And then they could dig them out of the
That's
water and redo
shameful
them.
because the rock's probably in the lake.
I'm sure that's where they're getting them, either off the dam or out of the lake. There's a lot of rocks around that water near that rope swing.
Do you know if the water plant gets any of their chemicals in metal drums? I'm just trying to think of
I think it's all
somewhere to get a
plastic.
metal drum.
plastic. I think a lot of the chemicals they use would eat a metal drum.
Probably. I
If we
just
wanna
thought
go that
maybe,
way, I will look. I will find
Would you?
it.
Please.
Weren't we talking about getting
Burn
more
barrel.
fire rings
That way in case it
anyway?
does burn. we're
The
not
people
out
that
there.
make them are no longer making them, as I
Yeah.
understand it.
What?
Just
I found a
not
guy that was making them from a pipe.
Let me know too, because I kind of want one.
I couldn't get any more.
Do we want to hunt down just a couple of metal drums and cut us some slices out and make our own fire rings?
I
And
wonder if there's any over here at CNE.
I'll get it. I'll borrow a torch and we'll make it happen.
Spots with no picnic tables, no fire rings, and camp their spots.
Okay.
Because we wanted to put some over at.
I ordered those fire rings. They will stay where the campers are. Brett Kimball.
I got a metal barrel.
Awesome,
There,
thank you.
sweet.
That's so nice of
Those
you.
fire rings will stay where they are.
Who's donating a metal barrel? Joe. Joe?
Then we need to get busy getting some fire pits
Some more?
and picnic tables down for the primitive people because they can't even start fires in a tent because they don't have fire pits.
I think we need to go have a meeting and reevaluate that area in general. It's kind of a mess.
Don't
But-
call them primitive people. Well,
They're
we can't call them
cavemen.
lake people. We can't call them primitive
Like,
people.
who wants to go primitive camp and you have nowhere to sit and nowhere
Park
to,
your car. You didn't walk to the lake.
but you can't have s'mores, you can't cook hot dogs. Like, what are you gonna do?
Conversation
That's why those
for
all
another
get-
day.
Did primitive people have hot
Yes.
dogs and s'mores in their day? Did they
The
have
people
benches
that
to sit on?
campers, they can cook
They sure
inside
did.
and
That's
have
what
all that stuff. They're the ones
intestines
that
are
have
for.
that.
It's
backwards.
Making sausage for generations.
Okay, moving on.
We'll just hunt down some drums and cover things.
All right, let's move on. Mill levy, that's yours, Jason.
Okay, so did you asked a handful of questions last time about mill levy increases. I googled largest mill levy increase in Kansas, and it said it was in Lawrence in 1980, and it was 3.47 points. However,
That was a lie.
that was wrong because Burlingame increased their mill levy by more than 13 points last year. Bellevue did as well. I actually have a stat. All of our surrounding counties.
Well, and I shared,
I saw this in our box.
Yep, that came from the League of Municipalities, and I shared an email I got from Maple Hill as far as their actual
Yep, and I saw that.
their
That was
actual
awesome.
costs.
My question on that one real quick was, the public safety department, does that include the police department and something else? Or
No, that's just the
just police department? Okay. I was curious about that because it says they have a $40,000 budget for that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So just kind of, I have yet to find kind of a rhyme or reason for how everybody has set up mill levies. It doesn't look like necessarily the size of the city really makes a huge difference in how high they set their mill levy. Obviously, it makes a difference in what the mill levy is valued at. Maple Hill's mill levy with $40,000 in the budget for a police department is only 18 points total. But Maple Hill is valued at $4.8 million, which means each point for the mill levy for them is $4,800. Our city is valued at right about $2 million. So 1 point in mill levy for us is only $2,000. So I literally printed off all of the surrounding county, the county that touches Wabunsee County, their mill levy rates. And some of them show what the current year and previous year were. So you can see the changes that happened. And like I said, I think Burlingame and Bellevue were the two biggest changes at 13 points and 9 points. Our current mill levy is 46.982. That's the 2024 levy rate. That's actually 2 points down from a year or two ago. Then we've got Quinemo, which is a value of like 1.3 million, and their mill levy rate's 121, and that's down 5 points from the year before for them. So I mean, it varies wildly as far as mill levy rate. If we went up to 60 points, we would be the highest in the county by 3 points because Alta Vista is at 57 right now. Alta Vista is, I want to say, fairly close to us in valuation.
It's on that little sheet that I
They're
gave.
So they're
2
2 point,
million for
2.4 million, and they're at 57,566 right now. So I don't know what they use it for. I couldn't tell you that. I don't know the politics of those cities. These are just the valuations of the cities and the mill levies they're using. Manhattan's on here, and they're at like 53, and a ridiculously large number. Let's see. the point is, there isn't,
I also
a
look at
standard.
population though,
yeah,
too.
there isn't a standard necessarily for mill levy rate. It depends on what we want to do and how we want to pay for it.
So how much of that mill levy rate comes back to the city levy and real estate taxes to the consumers?
So there's a math equation. So if we raise the mill levy rate, so if you have the appraised value of your property, there's a math equation to figure out the tax value of your property, and then based on that, you do another math equation to figure out how much your taxes would go up by increasing a certain number of points.
$483 for me.
For
That's
you.
too much.
Now, tax value of your home, if you don't mind me asking.
Well, really,
'Cause
right now it's low, only at 159,000. So the taxes is over $3,000 already.
So
if you bump it and each year the value weight goes up, went up 15,000 last year, goes up 15,000 next year, and then you add 15 more mills on it, I'm over $500 in 3 years,
So
or 2 years.
the $100,000 home average, which is what I went off of that last time. So if your home appraised value is $100,000, a 15-point increase in the mill levy would be $167.56 a year increase in your taxes.
There's only 40 people that are at 100,000.
Right more.
There's 80 people with 50 to 100,000, and
Yes.
there's 59 people with 50,000 or less.
Yeah.
And
So
they
you
don't
can-
give you the ones, there's 40 that over 100, but they don't tell you what they are at over 140. So some of the folks here got houses are worth more than mine, so they're probably pushing 200, but they didn't break it like that. And I don't mind paying my fair share, but it seems like going up $483 in 2 years is more than my fair share when there's only 40 of us doing that.
Well,
And
Yeah, but people
that's-
above you are they're paying
yeah,
250
What was
a
that?
year.
What was the increase per year on 14 mills? Did we do the math on that? Because I thought we had.
14.57 mils was $167.56 for a $100,000 house.
well, I
Here's
told them
Per
here's
year.
my issue, as a resident, why should I pay $200 extra a year and somebody else only pay $20 extra a year? And that's realistic, because I
Yeah.
looked up the
Whose
assessment.
house is going to get broken into? The guy whose house is only worth $20,000, or you whose house is worth $200,000?
well,
You're going to benefit from that more than that guy.
I just
is.
don't feel that's
But that's why I brought it up. This is I made a challenge to everybody else sitting on this council last meeting. Come with another method. Has anybody else come with another method?
I'm just asking, I'm not mad at you.
I know
I'm asking
but
questions.
we want policing in this town because deterrence is the best form of policing. It's the best way to reduce the crime in this area. Maple Hill is one of the safest cities in our area, and it's gotten that way because of the police force that's there.
I have a question. It may not pertain, Jason, but I don't really understand mill levy. So we had a lake house on the shore.
Right.
And we have the church, which was reverted back to residential, which only appraised at like 200,000, which is in the city limits. Wabunsee Lake, Wabunsee County, the lake house appraised like, I don't know, like 600,000. But my property taxes in the city of Eskridge, the mill levy made it as high as the lake. So I don't understand how that
Well,
works.
you don't
'cause I'm
have a
like,
city.
huh?
You don't have a
It's not a
city. So we're all paying the same county tax
No,
that
I
you
was
were
paying
paying.
the city. I had two places.
Yeah,
Right.
I get that. Hang on.
Okay, sorry.
You're talking about a county property and a
Uh-huh.
city property. So all of us are paying the county mill levy
On top of the city?
on
Yes.
top of the city
Okay.
mill levy.
Yes, yeah.
I just didn't understand how the place in town, I paid as much property taxes as the place that was worth more. I didn't get that.
I'm not saying that this is the only way we're going to do
No,
this
I'm not
business.
even.
I'm saying
yeah.
come to me with more answers because we need to get this going.
I'm not even.
Because
saying
if
I
we're
don't
going to
wanna
do this,
that.
it
I
needs to
just-
be on the next ballot
Yeah,
because it has to be on the election
No,
ballot.
it doesn't go on the ballot.
It doesn't
No,
go on
no,
the
but
ballot.
you do have to, you have to say beforehand that you're gonna exceed the revenue neutral rate.
Right, and it becomes a public meeting.
So you have to give that alert here pretty quickly, right?
I mean, the county is just now sending out the information that I had forwarded on to the auditor. Usually about July is when they start working on it. August, you'll have that notice of, wasn't it? I mean, I haven't gone through the revenue neutral rate hearing, but wasn't it probably like in August last
Well,
year?
it's before the
So-
budget. It's before the budget, so you're gonna have to make the election probably next month. And this is time, because the revenue neutral rate, that it may go a little bit up, a little bit down, but the mill levy is set to where it's gonna give you the same revenue as last year. So
Right.
almost certainly, if you're going to try to get more money, you're gonna have to say, we're gonna exceed it.
So
You have to give a number, and that's ultimately
The point.
the point. Yeah, you gotta say now that you're
So-
gonna do it.
We've been hearing, I've been on council for a year and a half. And we've been hearing the entire time, we want policing, we want policing, we want safety and security in our city. And we've been trying to come up with ways to do it, and it keeps stalling, and I don't want it to stall anymore.
Well, I
So-
understand your side of the story.
We need an answer.
It just, is there any other budgeting that we can do? I don't know the budget. I don't come to the meetings anymore because I don't feel like I always get listened to anyway, so I try to just shut up and stay home.
And that's why I'm poking the
Then
bear.
when this
I do.
happens and I look at it, I don't expect you to change everything for me, but I just feel like sometimes we're not heard. And I'm not pointing fingers at any one person in general. Sometimes I just, over the last 30 years, I felt unheard. Okay? But I still lived here. I still
Yep.
built a house here, still raised my family here. It's not the same Eskridge, we know that. And now with this policing that we need, it's definitely not the same Eskridge that we had. Because we don't have someone here all the time.
You know?
But that just seems like an awful lot for the minor majority of people paying in comparison to the rest. And I realize some people chose to not have that big of a house and they chose to do other things. I chose to have a nicer house for the family and do less of other things. But that just still seems
Like
like
a heavy
a
load.
lot, going from
Okay.
45 for the city, which brings us in, according to the gal over there, around 101,000 in real estate levies. And if you raise it 15 more, you're gonna make maybe 134. Can we not come up with 34? Is there anything else in our budget that we can change a little bit even?
That's my point about poking the bear. This is one way to do it.
But is there two ways to do it? Is
And I know there are.
So-
fewer here and some here?
another alternative is a sales tax. We have discussed that also at the meetings. We are sitting at a 9% sales tax for Eskridge because we do have a 1% sidewalk and park sales tax. And when I say park, it's been for sidewalks.
Sure.
So I hesitate to raise that up. And I say that because yes, you do get business from people coming through Eskridge. Absolutely. We love that business, lake business coming in. But we also have elderly and disabled who cannot go to town to grocery shop. They're already paying higher rates in the grocery store and the gas station because those people can't get supply trucks to come out here. So we're paying on top of whatever they're buying it in the store. So we don't get the cut on anything. So we're adding that sales tax for those people. So I start to hesitate on people who can barely afford to live, then also having to pay extra there in the store. And I understand we can't solve all of these problems at the same time, but I think a mixed approach would actually be more appropriate. Where I just glanced at mine before we came in. I meant to bring it in. But the ambulance has 5 mils in Eskridge, which I am extremely grateful we have an ambulance because that was a miracle from God that we actually got it back. Apparently that never happens. I spoke to them when that occurred. So we pay 5 mils for that. So an alternative being maybe if we get 5 mils for police department and a 0.5% sales tax that can go on the ballot and people can vote on it and see. If we don't get it, you know, we have a little bit coming in, we can start somewhere. That's an option. I know Brett's talked about raising dock fees. I'm not actually against raising the fees. I'm against raising them drastically overnight. That's where I've always been. So I don't want to go from 200 to 1,200 in 1 year. And that doesn't sound like a bad number when you're just paying one dock, but some of these people aren't just paying that anymore. I mean, we're charging for a flagpole or a deck or other
We've
things like
always
that.
charged for those things.
Agreed, but we've definitely been going after them a little more aggressively and making them pay for those items. So some
they've
people
had
have
without
three.
permits.
I'm
just adding to it.
I was still talking. So some people have not one thing that they're paying for, but 3, 4, 5. So they're not looking at $1,000 increase in a year. They're looking at a $5,000 increase in a year. I just had a conniption when my house insurance went up $1,000 this year. So I could see how that hurts everybody else. I didn't save for that. I mean, I barely made that for so I don't think we need to scalp anybody to make this work. I also don't know how much room we actually have in the existing budget as it sits. Because we did pay for a marshal at some point. Have we even looked at what we're short or need? And we just paid for that dumpster, and how much was the total on that?
Yeah, I'd have to.
I know we said the first month, I want to say.
$630 times however many
Right.
times.
But for
Times
that
6.
2-month period, I mean, we ended up in thousands of dollars there. So that's something we're willing to pay for, and we have the room in the budget. Where are we at on the budget that we can't afford the marshal as well?
What are the numbers though? I mean, Jason.
He
at the
has
last
actually
meeting
crunched
said
those.
30 hours a week, $30,000 a year. That's what Maple Hill does. But then after investigation and being in
It's
contact
$40,000.
with Maple Hill, it's not. It's $40,000 and 5 less because they only do 25 hours. So that was in. So we don't have accurate information. We still don't know what the price tag is. You're talking about a 0.5% sales tax. We get like 33,000 for 1% sales tax.
Absolutely. And you got
So that would be like
15,000
$16,000.
and then 5 mils.
Then 5 mils is 10. So you're looking at 26,000. You're 4,000 under the 30,000 that you were talking about that jumped up to 40.
And I'm not
at this
saying
meeting.
we can start running. I'm
But is
saying
there any
we get a
other-
budget and start.
Is there any other areas where we're paying for stuff that, because I don't know, because I don't see the budget. Is there any other areas where we're paying for something that we can get the same quality for less? Is there anything like that?
Yeah, I brought
Is
that up at
there
the last
any-
meeting. I brought that up last meeting. We could renegotiate our IT contract. That'd save us quite a bit every year.
Have we talked to him about?
No, I'm not
that yet?
talking to him until we agree that that's what we might be looking into.
There's nothing that says we can't ask. I'd say go for it and ask. Ask to renegotiate and see if there's things that we can cut. Why not?
The 15K that the lake has to put away every year for the road, is that done? Isn't this last year?
It's a
Well, I mean,
continual thing.
it's been in the budget the last, well, we've got 75,000 in there now, so,
And they got a project coming.
and they've got a project.
Right, they're gonna do
And
the
I don't-
road.
And I don't know,
And then
have
we
there
start
been any
setting
estimates yet of that?
money
Yeah.
aside.
We
again.
haven't heard from the
It starts all over again
engineer.
until they redo it again.
I didn't know it started immediately.
Yeah. It's a continual thing.
I mean, that's just been a budgeted transfer for the last 5 years, 6 years, I guess.
Only for that long? What,
Well, I mean,
what
yeah,
was taking place before that?
it was
That's
just,
what I wanted to know.
right.
So don't we get roughly $90,000 a year in income out of the lake?
77,000.
That fluctuates pretty
That
rapidly.
was your number, Lisa.
No,
From
I told you,
2022.
well, but
So
Even
we
77.
had a dock moratorium,
dock
so it
fees
can't have
have increased,
changed.
but dock fees have increased, so I
But
figured
even
about
at, even at
the same way.
77, if 15 is going for road construction, what's happening to the rest of that money?
Well, we
Where's it
work
being
on
spent?
everything we do campground wise comes out of that fund as well.
I understand that.
I did have a
I'm
presentation for my part of this. I was gonna let you do your thing at this meeting, and I was gonna do mine at the next meeting.
Okay.
But like we've said, we make the residents at the lake pay a yearly fee up front of $190, but that breaks down to $15 a month. So if we increased their fees to $30 a month, which is $15 instead of the $15 they're paying, they would now pay $30,000. You're going to double that what you get, and there you have $80,000 to play with in budget authority anywhere, and you don't have to do a mill levy, and you don't have to do a 1% sales tax, and then it's not on the citizens' back. And in doing that, you could also turn around and provide coverage out at the lake as well. And if you're using the part-time marshals, then the sheriff could deputize them, and they could actually patrol on the south side of the lake as well.
And that I think is the intent anyway.
And I don't think that a jump from $15 a month to $30 a month is that big of a deal when we all pay that in everything that we do in our daily lives as it is.
The difference is it's not broken down by the month the way they pay it. It's a one-time bill paid up front, and you don't pay your monthly $15 a bill in bulk for the entire year in advance. If you did, you'd have a different thought on that. And I think that's what the issue is. And I can recall when I
It
first
doesn't
became,
change the fact.
I'm talking, can I finish, please?
Go ahead.
And I can recall 3.5 years ago when I became mayor, subject was brought up, and I said, it's no fault of this council at that time that the fees are set the way they are. It's the previous councils who never, ever, ever raised the rates all these years, or if they did, it was barely. And now we're getting the brunt of it because we're trying to catch up. If we had caught up a little bit at a time for the last 3 years, we wouldn't be looking at $30 or $15 increase per month today. We might be looking at a $5 a month increase today if we had done that year after year after year. I agree 100% with Annie. You don't want to strangle them with a fee at the beginning of the year. If you want to change the payment process, pay by the month, then let's do that. They might accept that a whole lot easier than paying a bulk amount at the beginning of the year.
And you and I spoke with Richard after the last meeting about the people of the lake, if they're going to get a benefit from it, which they would be willing to chip in and help out with it.
They are. I mean, the property values go up $20,000 to $30,000 right now for $190 a month. Who wouldn't want and love that deal? They're also the only ones that get the privilege to be on the shoreline with a permanent structure on a lot that's worth over $100,000. I mean, I'm not asking for much here. I'm trying to make us get to where we're actually profiting something on this, and it's. I mean, I just.
I'm just addressing the number that you presented previously. I didn't know you were gonna say, $15 a month or whatever. We can talk about the increase. I just don't think it's a solution 100%.
Comment as a lake resident, and like Jason said, we talked about this off the record after the meeting. I think if this law enforcement would have the ability to do traffic control out on the south side of the lake, then you've got something to sell to the lake residents that they would swallow.
And from what I spoke with the sheriff about, all of them would be certified to operate throughout the county, because right now city marshals throughout the county do that already. And I was talking to Brett about this when his house was broken in here in town. The two officers that responded to that was the county sheriff and the Alma city marshal, because the city marshals are authorized to operate throughout the county as well. So it would be a police force that could patrol everywhere and operate on county ground. So that's a viable.
Lake Wabansie does have a need for better traffic control, especially during the summer. You have children driving ATVs and all kinds of stuff that is a real public hazard.
Yeah.
Safety hazard.
I have a question. In these numbers that we've heard tonight, and forgive me if I missed it, has anybody talked about the cost of the vehicle, the vest, the gun, the training, etc.?
Training, insurance, benefits, all of that is covered. Basically, they'll all be hired in from other agencies as part-time employees. So their home agency, whichever agency that is, and Sheriff Kirsch has already talked to several of our neighboring counties' sheriffs, and they all have guys that are interested in a job like this. All of that stuff, training and insurance, all that would be covered by their home agency.
Okay.
We would be responsible for, we would basically provide an AR. We would provide body armor and communications equipment and camera and a vehicle. And that was, well, so he was talking about Purple Wave frequently has retired police vehicles, and you're talking about a relatively low mileage vehicle with good maintenance records that's already prepared for police packages, but we're still talking probably 30 grand for the vehicle.
Purple Wave, isn't that a company?
That's
that
a-
the city,
it's a
isn't that the company that
It's
the
a-
city of Eskridge had been getting vehicles from in the past?
I think so, yeah.
It has.
Yeah, it's a government auction site is what it is.
State surplus, federal surplus.
Yeah.
We should be doing that again to save us money.
Does a vehicle come with a radio, do you know?
It won't come with a radio. We've got to provide the radio. It'll come with all of the connections and setup for that radio. Which, like, if you went down to whatever car lot and bought a car, trying to put police equipment in that would be a nightmare. So this would absolutely be the way to get a police vehicle for us. It would be the better way. Having had to repair wiring in police vehicles many times, that is definitely what we want to do.
So if it breaks, we know who can fix it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm down. That's a fun puzzle.
So our first year cost is going to be a lot higher than the
First year cost will absolutely be higher because we do have to buy equipment. And it's safe.
And we don't have an estimate yet on that equipment cost
I mean,
either.
can't we use that safe?
We could use that safe, but it depends on, is it full of stuff?
No.
Because
I
Should have.
Well, I don't know.
So you bought one here a few years ago.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that. but
Dudley had
that's-
it, I think. Is that right?
Yeah,
For a
that
couple of
was-
weeks and
I
took
mean,
it
the
back
sole
in.
purpose of that safe was for,
it would have to be basically solely for the use
Yeah,
of
I
I
mean,
the
mean,
police
that's
department.
what it was
Yeah.
purchased for.
So then there's what, $2,000 right off the list.
You need the locked file cabinet probably too.
So we've already got a dent in some of the equipment. Vehicle, we
A
had
ding.
a ding.
A ding, not a dent.
Police vehicle we have, so we can kind of salvage some equipment out of it, but as far as I understand, that vehicle is roached. It's on the list that I made.
Somebody cleaned out that safe.
So the radio, Jason, that we would have to
I haven't had
get,
any.
even the Alma guy could get it, hear from it and come here again. and
Yep.
basically-
Yeah, because it'll be tied to everybody's systems.
Okay.
So if we got a 911 call, the dispatchers would contact our marshal, whoever was on duty, and dispatch them first, and then whoever else they needed for backup. So yeah, they'd be on the same network, which is why that radio is expensive. So yes, first year expense definitely increased, but Maple Hill sent us their information, and their budget for the public safety department is $40,000 a year,
Well, that was for 2024.
and that was for 2024.
Yeah.
They have been running it for,
Yeah, they've
Quite
been
a
running
while.
for several years.
Sounds like if we could swing that, our first year would have to be set up, and the second year we would actually employ.
Yeah.
An officer.
And I think that'd probably be the way to go.
First,
But
you
that's-
put the money in the bank for.
It's another reason I don't want to put it off any longer. I would like us to come up with an answer and get it rolling, because it's going to be 2 years probably before we have a functioning police department. So the longer we drag our feet, the longer that takes.
And if the revenue neutral rate increases it by 15 mils this August, it would not go into effect until 2027, if I understand that correct.
No,
That
26.
the current one is 2026 right now.
It'd be- it'd
No, the
be
current
no-
one's 2025.
It'd be when?
No, this one, no, if you do this now, it'll be 2026, it's budget year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Your first,
I guess I
your
misunderstood. But
first half payment would be in
What?
January.
I misunderstood when I asked that question, when, how soon could we put it in? Because the budget they're fixing now is for 2026.
Right.
And if we don't get it, and it has to be in on January of that year, so we're already past January of this year, that's what was confusing me. Then, so she said, you put your stuff in January of the year previous to when you want it, so if you put it in this January, it would be in the budget for 2026, what she says now. If it's not in, then it goes in January 2026, and it would be 27, and that's what I didn't understand.
Oh, okay.
You know, the mill rate that would pass in August or September, whatever, those property tax notices would go out like in November, and your first half is due
And that,
in December.
that picks up
And
the
then-
mills at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So whatever our decision that we make now is, that starts taking effect next year. So that was my spiel. 15 mils would be a little short, but what do we have in the budget that we have available that we could use? What other options could we work on? We could do the 0.5% sales tax, do 5 mils, and a quarter, not a quarter, 25 cents, but $5 a month, whatever that works out to. At the
Think
lake.
you're talking peanuts again.
Right.
Like you're just keeping us far behind. I mean,
How many peanuts
you
would
have
we
to
have
take a
collected
jump
if we'd
in
added
order for us
$5
to
a month
get to the
year one,
appropriate
No
4
point in
years ago?
discussing
for makeup.
Really, there's
You
not.
can't just
Don't
baby
bring that
step.
up.
It's stupid.
It's pointless.
Well, because it's
Bad
underpassed.
business skills. Dumb.
So the point is,
What's your opinion?
we can
Tim?
do 3 different things.
Like
I
Brett's
would have
idea,
no
I'm in
money.
favor of raising my taxes.
And a 5 mil increase would be a third of what we talked about earlier.
Well, a half
Aware of
percent
that.
sales tax is still almost gonna put us one of the highest in the state,
Right next to.
I mean,
right next to, because 1% was gonna push us well over. I really don't wanna be that close to the highest in the state either, like.
We
I
can
don't-
finally be
Well,
leaders
other
in the
way-
state.
Yeah, but not if it's not in.
I have been against the sales tax paid for this, to be honest, because we already have a 1% sitting there. So I don't want to increase that.
Well, I don't know how you go about it at all. I mean, we talk about stuff sometimes and people get mad and or people come and talk. He comes and talks, you don't even know how many people listen, and then you hear all these complaints that nobody showed up.
That's
why I showed up to
the
ask.
issue we continue to run into
And
is
thank you for
that
showing up and asking.
we're
But-
not making a decision because everybody disagrees on how to pay for it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't wanna pay that much in my taxes. I don't want it going up 15, you know what I mean?
That's fair. I'm
Smaller
with you.
amounts I can deal with at a time, like Andy said, $1,000, your insurance going up, I've been down that road, that sucks, I know that. Same with cars, my car ain't getting any newer and fancier, but the insurance goes up because somebody had a wreck down the road. But the point is, if, I don't wanna push it off on somebody else either, but if you talk to the lake people, like Richard said, and they're interested in something, which is, if it is $15 and they don't care, because they're gonna have a presence, then let them be heard and let's know that too.
Richard, is that something we could ask LWID to do a survey?
That wouldn't be appropriate for
No.
LWID. This will go out in my notes, tonight's discussion. And then if you put it on the agenda for further discussion at a council meeting, we'll see
Like on the
what kind of
23rd,
response.
like next meeting.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Could you phrase it that we're interested to know, I guess? Would they have more buy-in?
I would add that $15 adding initially, and it's a stair step increase. You'll see it when I present it, but that's still not asking as much as you're asking your citizens to pay in. So, I mean, as you're wanting to not stair step things up and do stuff, let's be real, you're still asking your citizens for more than what that increase would be there.
I mean, actually, it's less from his, what, 153, is that what we said, for a $100,000 house?
167.
That's about the same or less.
$15 a month increase.
Is that about the
adds
same or less for you,
$180
Mine,
to their
mine,
yearly.
mine for this next year coming up is already $192.78 more just because of the valuation.
Yeah.
And if you do the next year, it's 290 more on top of that. So I'm at 483 before you get to a whole big wad of 15 more on there.
Right.
So, that's why it just seems like a massive.
And that's what I'm saying. So she'd be paying that, as we're at the lake, they'd all be paying the same.
Here's my point of bringing up the 15 mils. It was a straightforward way to pay for it. But it's also a big hit for property owners in the city.
Well, renters too.
And what happened? We got people to show up and comment. And I got other people to come up with ideas on how to pay it. And that's what I'm looking for. I don't necessarily think we need to roll 15 or 20 mils onto the mill levy. I think we need to find a way to pay for a police. And I want answers and information and input from as many people as I can get. And you showing up helps with that. Everybody else sitting here helps with that.
Okay.
Brett making a presentation helps with that.
Here's my input. I am not in favor of raising our mill levy or raising our city sales tax. I would like to see an officer. However, I think that we have been taken care of more than many, many years past. I see police presence. I mean, they drive past my house all the time, probably because of the person squatting in somebody's garage right up the street from me who walks past my house 100 times a day.
Do you see results from the police presence? Because I see a pretty consistent dislike of the return on that I've not personally ever seen my property returned when it's stolen. I have reported it to the police. Sometimes that's just life, obviously. We've caught some criminals here and there, but are we really getting the benefit of that if they're still doing petty theft constantly
Catching the criminals and getting your stuff back
or cooking meth?
are two different things.
And this-
In a city that you can afford law enforcement, speak of, crime happens there
Well,
all the
obviously,
time.
it's
People get their stuff
population.
stolen, they don't get it back. I mean, my son, I keep bringing this up. We had video of the people that robbed his storage unit. We had Dolly presented video of them driving down the street. We had a clear picture of the people in the vehicle, clear picture of the license plate. And too bad, so sad. And that, whether we had a cop or not, that would have ended the same way.
Potentially, if we had somebody sitting here, they may have been sitting there driving by when that dude was in the locker.
The problem is,
He wouldn't have gotten his stuff back.
they're all
Whether the
getting
person got
arrested.
arrested or not, he wouldn't have gotten his stuff back. That's just the way that it goes. I mean, they arrest somebody, they take them to Alma, and then the person's walking the streets 2 days later.
exactly, they're out before the
Whether
ink
we
dries
have
for the
cop or not,
paperwork.
that doesn't change that.
And that's not the sheriff or the deputy's fault. I
Exactly.
mean, how frustrating is it for them that that
Exactly.
happens like that?
Put their
Yes.
life
But
at risk. To
There is
arrest
somebody ahead. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Without pointing fingers in another direction at
Where's the
somebody,
breakdown? Yeah.
I could, but I'm not going to. But there needs to be a change above them and the consequences that they're giving people.
The
Because,
biggest benefit, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
the biggest benefit that I would see would be we would have somebody who can finally enforce our city ordinances.
Yeah.
We would have somebody who can enforce, not that they cannot enforce the traffic out of the lake right now, but we'd be able to direct them to have more of a presence on the times that we
No, it's
wish.
bad. Yeah.
I mean, the little things like that where we would have somebody to stop things.
What ordinances besides those that Sally's enforcing with the city marshal do? I'm just,
Dog issues. I know we have a dog catcher now. We did not have a dog catcher originally. I have had sheriff calls that they couldn't complete because of that way back. The noise ordinance, they don't enforce that unless it's to the state or whatever. All the ordinances we write aren't necessarily enforceable by the county. So mowing the lawn, I think we had one where you were like, let's make sure the grass shavings don't go on the road so nobody's yeah, they can't enforce that. Stuff like that. There's various, obviously they're probably less severe because they're not covered in the state statute.
Well,
Or they're
most of
specific.
your ordinances say shave your lawn.
Lawn shavings, clippings.
Clippings, did I say shavings?
Yeah.
Clippings
Sorry, I was hung up on that.
was the alliteration
I didn't
apparently.
really change your point though.
Stuff like that, we
You're
pay
right.
Todd to change for us for no reason at all
Yeah.
because we don't have anybody to enforce it.
Yeah, you gotta enforce it.
It's a lot of fun. I think that every time we do it.
I like Brett's plan.
So is
And I would
Brett's
like to know
plan
their-
gonna
and
be
what
on
is-
the agenda next meeting?
Your presentation will be on the agenda next meeting.
Do you think that we could get some feedback from you before the meeting so that we would be armed with some information?
So we know how to
I
answer.
presume an RA
Other than what I've already shared?
Well, you said that they might be willing to be on board. And if you present that, and a bunch of people say, what the hell are you talking about, Richard? Or if people say, yeah, Richard, you're right.
I think we'll find that out on the 23rd.
We might, the only heads up I can see that we might need from that is how many people are going to show up. So we can prepare the senior citizen center like we did the last time the late people showed up.
There it is again.
Private.
It does sound like a 50s monster
I
movie. doesn't
I
it?
didn't want to call them primitives.
All right, we'll beat this.
Terry, if I have a sense of that, I will let you know.
Okay, all right, thank
That's
you.
probably the best discussion we've had this whole time, to be honest.
That's my goal. For one every discussion.
All right, council concerns.
Put your
Now,
hand
the
down.
camera's been mounted and fixed on this building yet.
No, I have not.
That would help catch criminals breaking in the buildings.
Is it a court issue? Is it a simple issue or is it not a simple issue?
I think it's simple. I think it just
Is it a court?
new cord needs to be fished through and was sitting, the new cord is sitting in the storage room.
I mean, it's gotta be thread. That's not fun, but yeah.
And then, so
It'll get
if
really, really
we have a
hot.
lot of stuff going on at the plant,
Just gonna
should
wanna
we
do it
get
when
a
it's hot.
bid from Logan to do gravel and stuff out at the lake? Because we can't leave a crater for people to drive over and potentially tip their campers over. I mean, if you've actually seen some of the people
What-
pulling their campers go through that.
What spot is it
they
at? I just
go-
drove by and I didn't,
It's on the west side coming in down.
don't do cardinal directions for me,
So
please.
it's the
You're standing in the
The
door of
first
the
way-
bait house.
Not the
Okay.
big entrance, it's the one towards
first
the
entrance you
wild.
Like the
Yes.
lower one that comes down by the trees?
Yes.
At the campgrounds, right? I just saw I didn't look bad when I was looking at it, but I didn't drive all the way through it, so.
Yeah. And then there's also the issue in front of the bait shop and like the divot, that's actually why the sand is running out. So that needs to be corrected. And maybe,
It's washout, yeah. The rain is taking it all, right?
well, now the divot's there because of the line that was replaced and then
Oh.
I don't think we've gotten back
Okay,
to
so it's
smooth it
sunk
over.
and it needs to
But
be,
it's literally
Okay.
what's guiding the
Okay.
water over.
okay.
As far as that other driveway, that's an annual thing. Always.
Look, like the
But the beach
top
area,
of
the whole corner by
spillway, I
the
mean, those
bathrooms
potholes
and the
have been
shower
there
house is
for my
blocked off
entire
by
existence.
cones and a fence, so nobody can really use that area, and it is the in season, and it's been a half a month.
Well, I know
We're
the
only
sand
open
part
6
was gonna
months,
wait.
And then 2
Just
more
for the
weeks,
rain,
that'll be
are
for the
we
rest of the time.
drying out enough now? I don't know.
We're less than a month away from July 4th
Should
weekend,
we?
so we
or
need
should
some
we
gravel.
not?
And
Make a proposal to somebody and I'll get on it.
Well, we did, that's approved, it just needs to be done, right? That's all.
To get 5 loads of gravel out there.
Are we gonna tell them too, they can do the sand now since cause I don't think that was in the email you sent out.
When you were talking about having Bob Logan go out and
Oh, I'm
actually.
sorry.
And didn't Bob do the same
I'm
for
sorry, I
us
missed that.
originally?
I don't remember.
He did,
He hauled the
yes,
sand out there,
Yeah, he
yes.
does
He,
the same
yeah,
thing.
he brought the sand out last time. So
Okay,
do you want the city guys doing the gravel for 5 loads or do you want Bob Logan bringing gravel out?
With the
Well, preferably the city guys, but if we're having problems at the water plant and they're tied to that, then it's still a problem that needs to be taken care of, and we have money in the lake fund to pay somebody to do it, is what I'm saying. So let's do it. I hate not doing projects, like, let's do it.
I don't have a problem with that.
So why don't somebody make a motion for me, please? How much gravel you want?
I thought this was approved last week.
Gravel
Yeah,
department.
gravel was.
We're
Yes,
talking about
we
Bob
approved,
Logan doing
we approved 5 loads,
Potentially.
thinking that one of our city guys would get the load to go out there. Now we're talking about Bob Logan, who has a bigger truck doing something a little bit different. Is he also gonna spread it when he gets it out there?
Yeah,
So we gotta discuss that. I mean, if he's gonna haul a load out and then turn around and spread it on top of that, we need a cost.
What was approved last time? Was it a dollar amount or a number of loads?
5
Number of
loads.
loads.
We don't know how much a load would cost.
I think it needs to definitely be done before the July 4th weekend.
absolutely.
So what if we get Bob Logan to give us a cost? Maybe he'll go out and take a look at what we need done and present a cost.
For the sand and the gravel.
Okay.
So why
Can
don't
we
we
just
approve
give-
the dollar amount in case he's under that dollar amount, and then we can turn him loose now?
Yeah, I'd prefer to just give Terry the reins on this so that it gets done before another half a month goes by, because it literally be 2 weeks.
I think
before
we can
see
get it
this.
done under $2,000. I move to approve up to $2,000.
I'll second.
And if it's $800, yay.
For
Don't
Bob's
tell Bob
backhoe.
that I approved.
$800 in gravel. Do you want to add to that?
He's
$1,000
approving up to
in
I was
$2,000.
including gravel and sand.
I want to ask Josh a question. You got $800 worth of gravel when you did that alley behind you, right? How many loads did that take for you?
Well, I hauled 2 19,000-pound loads, and I think 3 10,000-pound loads. And
So
that
38 and
Was he on the
6,
job?
44,000 pounds. for $500.
It was right around the 40 to 55,000 pounds of gravel we ordered.
Okay.
Tim's motion is for up to $2,000.
But you're also
for
paying him to
gravel
spread it.
And
And sand?
Yes.
Not in the same load.
I missed that part, sorry. I still second.
Okay, you want the gravel first?
Yeah.
All means.
He'll get it all done. We don't have to specify.
Okay, motion by Tim to approve gravel from Bob Logan at an expense not to exceed $2,000.
You said gravel, please refrain gravel and sand.
Sand.
Yeah.
2,000 for both projects together.
Total?
Yes.
Didn't our sand cost more than that when we brought it out the first time?
It did, but we did the whole beach, and this is just a corner area that's
Yeah, we're
like
just filling a hole.
10 by 10.
It'll get done for that.
So you
So-
want in $2,000? Are you wanting that to include the cost of material, delivery, and labor,
Yes.
or is that just for material?
I'm hoping so. All the above.
but this is to get for Bob to do it.
Mhm.
Okay.
What do you got? What's
No,
in your
I was
mind?
just making sure because I didn't understand. I mean, the way it was worded, it sounded
Yeah,
like
I'm gonna,
you were saying $2,000 for material, and
No, this for all the above.
Okay.
so the motion should read by Tim to approve gravel and sand up to $2,000 to repair the
On West Drive and
beach area.
the beach area.
I just got 20 ton of gravel from Bob, if it matters, for $500 delivered. That helps you.
Just delivered or spread?
Delivered. 20 ton.
We'll
I don't know
start,
if that
we'll
helps.
start
you.
with
I
that.
doubt we need.
Start with that. If we need more, we'll get more.
We've
There
already
you
got
go.
a hell of a base underneath it.
Can we
We're
vote
just
on
gonna
this?
fill in the ditch.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, any further discussion on it? All right, those in favor? Okay, that motion carries. I will get a hold of Bob.
Thank you. In the future, we need to consider, I have tried to map out what the campsites would be like way up on the top ledge. I've left maps here on the tables for other people to sketch out their ideas, and I think somebody just wadded them up, threw them away.
I feel like I contributed to that.
I
It's
never
been
saw
so
them.
long.
I came in and they were
I feel
gone.
like I
Can you
drew
send me
them.
one? All it was it was the aerial map of the campsite. Anyway, the point is, there were some serious ruts that were left there from camping people a couple weeks ago. And two-wheel drive trucks trying to get their camper in and out with all that muck. We've got to come up with a design for where the campsites are going to be. I don't care how they're going to be.
It's not the one that they just line up. I always thought that was terrible.
No. That's the lower ledge. I think I'm
Mhm.
talking about clear up the
When they're
top
all,
where the two
yeah, because they got
big shelter houses
Okay.
are.
Oh, okay. No, I'm
And
wrong.
just- Have a gravel drive and where people can back their campers in.
Okay.
We've got to come up with something and gravel.
My
that
only
spot.
issue with the gravel drive is we can't maintain the gravel drives and the gravel that we have now. So how in the world are we ever going to maintain that anymore?
Well,
Those would be level up there and they're not subject to the rain, pushed them down.
Grass
Right,
over
but the
the light.
grass and the weeds are
He's
going
talking
to take
about
it
the
over
grass that
just
grows
like all
through
the
it.
other spots.
I thought that we had the grass taken care of since we trained Robin. I don't know. I haven't gone out there and looked. Am I wrong?
I'll ask Robin if she's been spraying out there.
Because I'm hoping she's spraying the gravel.
I can tell you she's not.
Can you tell me why?
I don't want to speak at it. I think it's something that goes like she was showed one time and still doesn't feel comfortable and doesn't know how to actually mix the spray. I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know. But I think that's what it is. Like, I think it was showed once and done. And it was obviously at the end of the year when we weren't doing spring. And so then it goes back to spring. And so, yeah, I think that's it. Because the reason why it wasn't
Is
leaking
there a
is
sprayer like on the
On the
side by
front
side? Okay.
Yeah,
With a
there's
boom
there's
or
a couple.
something?
There's a small sprayer up at the shed, I thought.
You don't mean one of these small sprayers, do
Yeah,
you?
one of them little ones.
That's
Oh.
ridiculous. Absolutely.
That's
Not
what
for
she
that
had been
project
doing.
necessarily.
Mike would mix up one of those hand pump things,
Didn't
and she
she
would be
do it
going
for
out
the
and hand
entire
spraying
year?
that. and then she'd bring it back to him, and she'd
Wow.
wait for him to mix up another one, and then she'd
No
come
wonder
back.
it's not getting done.
Because I mean, you have to have keys to use that stuff. The keys are
Well, that makes
probably in the
me mad.
shop. Robin don't have a key to the shop. Sally don't have a key to the shop. Terry, do you have a key to the shop? Terry don't have a key to the shop.
Why can't she just take the side by side or whatever it is with the big sprayer that holds the capacity to do it all?
I think part of it was she was nervous about operating the equipment. I think it's something that she's just gonna have to get used to doing.
I agree. And there's only one way to get over it.
Do it. We do have some equipment we could get rid of, but it's not a whole lot. We have 3 vehicles, a boat, and a welder that could be retired and sold. There's an E350 with a work bed on it, and we have the regular truck bed for it. I don't know if it runs. They don't know for sure if it runs because it's missing a battery. There is a gold Silverado out there that was an old maintenance vehicle, and it does not run currently. And then, of course, the police truck. There's another white Silverado that was, I think, Drew's old truck, and it runs, but it's got issues. I would recommend that we hang on to that one until we
That's
have
when
the
they
replacement vehicles.
use it as a backup when
They
they're
use it as a backup.
servicing or having other issues.
All right, let's pursue getting rid of them.
Can we pursue getting Robin trained again or whatever she needs to?
And a key to the shop.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll talk to Robin.
I would like those campgrounds to look nice for the 4th.
Okay. Brett, Annie, you guys have anything?
Nothing further.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Kim, seconded by Jason. Those in favor? We're adjourned.
Pretty good, yeah.
I don't know if she does.
Always good for the kids.
Marcia,
You don't see him for a long
do you
time.
have David Williams' contact information?
You know, I used to, but ever since Danny died, he don't talk to me. And once he sold that, he just
He didn't want to talk to me at all to begin with.